Kwana, what's up? Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. What's up? Yeah, you like the hat? I slipped up. I was supposed to brought this New York Knicks one. They had them two for $50, and I ain't even grab it because I ain't had nothing to match with it like a couple months ago. Now look, they in the championship. So yeah, I appreciate it. You like the hat or you like the color? I like the color. It's my one of my favorite colors. Matthew. Oh, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Yeah, I'm just waiting for some more people to get in here so I could go in. This is where I've been at though. I've been off of TikTok. I've been over here. This is where I've been at. TikTok was cool, but I ain't really want to stay with the dating stuff too tough. That really wasn't what I was, sent here to do. So it was alright. It was cool. We was having fun over there. You know what I'm saying? But this is what I really wanted to be doing. So stepped away from TikTok, came over here, and I'm gonna remain here. And then once I get this situated, then I'm gonna bring this same platform to TikTok because I'm trying to heal. I'm trying to change people. I'm trying to give people guidance, and just talking about dating and relationship shit. That ain't really that ain't really what I'm here to do. You know what I mean? I'm not. That's not my mission. So that's why I fell back, even though it was kind of lit. It was lit. It was fun, but yeah, it was getting messy. Exactly. Exactly. So that's why I came over here. I was like, nah, I'm not even gonna stay over there. You know what I'm saying? Because people was like, yo, if you'd have stayed over there, yo, imagine where your channel would have been at by now. And I'm like, yeah, it probably would have went crazy, but that's not what I'm here to do. I've been getting a better response over here, actually, to be honest with you. This is where my people at. They on YouTube, they ain't on TikTok. But I'm gonna go back to TikTok though. I like TikTok. I like the way it's formatted. Um, I like the way they push you in the algorithm when you over there. So I'm definitely gonna get back over there. That's right. That's right. And that's where God. This is where God has been leading me. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. So this live right here. This is to my former life. I had a whole nother message today. Today the message was gonna be about Christ because it's Sunday. What's up, Marlo? Hey, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for the gift. Thank you for the gift. Yeah. Today's message was gonna be about it was gonna be about Christ, but I got a phone call maybe like 2 hours ago. I was on the phone with a friend. You can't call too many people friends, but I was on the phone with a real friend that I known for years. Hello, how you doing, beloved? Thank you, beautiful. I was on the phone with a friend that I known for over 30 years. The first person who gave me some weed. He gave me some weed when I was like 14. He gave me some weed to sell for him and stuff. And I was talking to him, and he was just basically telling me some things, and we had a long conversation. So I kind of wanted to go back and go get back into the whole my not my life. I'm not getting into what I did and all of that. I'm not getting back into all of that. But what I am gonna do this live right here. This is a message to my former life, and I'm gonna take this one off of here, and I'm gonna make a video out of this because I already got some stuff loaded up in my phone to make a video out of it. So I'm just gonna put words to the videos that I already have, and this one is a message to my former life. And what I mean by that, hey Carla, what's going on? Thank you, thank you, thank you. The colors are vibrant. My homegirl Kawana, she said the same thing. She said, "Oh, I like the hat. I like the colors." But thank you. I had this already on, so I had this background because I've been messing with the AI. So I had these pictures in my phone because I was messing with the AI. So I was like, "Yo, you know what? I'm gonna put this background behind me because it kind of matches a little bit." These are high vibrational colors. I don't wear red a lot no more. You know what I mean? As a one time, the only thing I wore was red and black, which is, low vibrational colors. You know what I'm saying? Red is a low vibrational color. So these are high vibrational colors. I like the way they pop. I like the way they feel. They're light, they're bright, they're glowing. So this is where I'm at. So yeah, this particular live is a message to my former life. And what I mean by that, I spoke to a friend of mine earlier, somebody that I've known over 30 years, and we had a real deep in depth conversation. And this was a person who forgave me for what I did and some of the things that I did in the streets. And granted, I don't need man's validation. I do not need man's validation. The Most High validates me. Yahshua, Yahweh Shai, Jesus the Christ validates me. So I don't be needing man's validation. You know what I'm saying? My grandmother, God rest her soul. My ancestors, the ones who love me and watch over me. You know what I'm saying? Those are the spirits, the oversouls. When I say my ancestors, I mean those who came before me. And if their spirit is still sentient and conscious of what I'm doing down here, those are the ones that I seek validation from. But this brother basically said like he overstood what I went through and what I was going through, and he pretty much basically said, I know why you did what you did. I forgave you and I love you. And he was basically talking about some of our childhood, I say friends for lack of a better word, that he still hang around, and some of their thoughts and opinions on, what I'm doing and what I've done. And it goes back to what I said. I appreciate you. Thank you for the gift. It goes back to what I said a couple of lives ago, where I said, hey, what's going on, beloved? GP, what's going on? Salute. It goes back to what I said, the scripture that I said before, Matthew 12 and 48, where it says, those, my mother and my brother are those who are here doing my father's will. My family are those who are vibrating high. That's my family. Thank you for the gift, Carla. That's my family. My family are those who are vibrating high. My family are those who want change and who are actually enacting change, changing their diet, changing the way they think, changing their relationships. When they're guarding their energy and they realize that they're light beings, when they realize that they have a purpose down here, when they realize that they have the capabilities and the capacities to love themselves, to heal themselves, to love others, to heal others. That's my family. That's my new crew. Those are my new homeboys. Those are my new homies. My old homies, my old running partners, and the people I used to gangbang with, the people I used to sell drugs with, the people I used to gossip with, even some of the women that I used to just sleep with. That's Bucks. You know me as Bucks. If you believe that I'm still Bucks and that's what you know me for, then stay there. Stay there. Because things change. When you knew me, you probably was staying in the projects, selling reefer or selling crack or collecting a welfare check. Now you may have a city job. You might, drive buses for a living. You might, drive trucks for a living. You may be a grandparent now. So if you're not the same person that was staying in the projects, selling crack or selling weed or, waiting for a welfare check, the same way you're not that same person, I'm not the person that you knew. That's not me. I'm not that same person. Look how much I smile. Look how much I smile. Look how much we can have a conversation and I'm not talking about money. I be on here for hours and I never once be talking about how to get to a bag and how we gonna get a bag together and what we could do with each other to make some more money. Because if you know me or knew of me, the old me, then you knew I couldn't have a conversation with you if it didn't lead to some money or how you can help me get some money. Whether you was gonna rent me a car, get an apartment in your name, drive me around, was able to sell drugs out your house, was you gonna hold these pistols? That, my conversation was based on what you could do for me, what we could do for each other to make us some money. I be on this YouTube for hours and never once do I discuss anything that has to do with getting to what they call a bag or getting to some money. So it's clear that I'm not the same person. But like I was telling my friend this morning, I don't care how well you articulate it. I don't care how smart they are. I don't care how much they understand life. Sometimes it's not in people's spirit to see what you're saying or to hear what you're saying or to understand what you're saying or to understand what you're saying. It may not be in their spirit to hear me. And it's not to hear me convincing them that I've changed. It's not to hear me convincing them that, I'm not doing the things that I used to do. No, it's to hear they won't be able to hear me say that Christ is going to return. They're not going to hear me to say that they can heal themselves. They're not going to hear me say how much love they can fill themselves with. And it starts with themselves. It starts with loving yourself, healing yourself, and forgiving yourself. It starts with guarding your energy. It starts with treating your energy, your life force energy, your love, light, and healing energy the same way you treat your money, the same way you don't give people your credit card number, the same way you don't got your safe open, or you don't tell nobody how much money you got in your bank account. You know what I'm saying? The same way you guard your money, you guard your energy. And by guarding your energy and disseminating love and disseminating light and disseminating forgiveness, bringing your wrongs or your misunderstandings with a human being to the altar. That's why Christ said, before you go pray and you meditate, you lay. If you have something against your brother, then you bring that before the altar. Meaning you go rectify that or have that, find forgiveness in that, even if the person don't forgive you. You have to in your heart forgive yourself. You have to in your heart understand the wrong that you did, the crime that you committed towards that person. You have to release all of that, because in order to release, and when you release all of that, even if the other person don't forgive you, if you wholeheartedly repent or you wholeheartedly see what you did wrong and wholeheartedly seek forgiveness, that is an energetic exchange that opens you up. That's how your prayers go to the Most High. That's how you have energy to manipulate time, space, and matter. That's how you give energy to your prayers so you can manifest the things you need in life. That's the only way you're going to do it. The forgiveness thing is not just because it's a good thing to do. That's not what Christ was saying, where he said to forgive your brothers and sisters. When he says to love your brothers and sisters as yourself, it's y'all be thinking, a lot of people be thinking that this is just what you're supposed to do to be like Christ or to be a Christian or a good Muslim or to be a good, Islam or whatever it is that you upon. It's not just a good deed to do, it's an energetic exchange. What Christ was trying to teach us was how to gain spiritual power, how to gain love power, how to gain energy down here, how to be powerful down here. And these acts are things that we need to acquire to be powerful. And me saying these things, again, just like in Luke 24, Christ said, a prophet is not going to be a prophet in his hometown. And the reason why a prophet not going to be a prophet in his hometown, the reason why in New London, Connecticut, or Bronx, New York, or Wilkes-Barre, or Scranton, Pennsylvania, or Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, these places where they know Bucks, I'm not going to be a prophet in that. And I'm not saying I'm a prophet. I'm just a messenger, right? The reason why they're not going to receive the message in these places, because I don't give a damn how much I quote the Bible. I don't care how long it's been since I've been arrested. It could be 50 years since I've been in the streets, hypothetically, let's just say. They still gonna see Bucks. They gonna still see the red flag hanging out my pocket. They gonna still see the blood beads. They still gonna see all that. And even if they don't see all that, they're gonna be all right, well, he snitched. He gave up 17 homicides. He told on all the killers that he was around. He told on everybody. So he's up here doing this because he can't go back to the streets, or because he told. So he's pretending like he turned over a new leaf, or whatever the case may be. Whatever their minds may be programmed to believe, that's what the devil is going to use, or what the enemy is going to use to create blockage, just like in the days of Christ. That's why people in Nazareth, no matter how much he preached and teach, no matter how many signs and wonders they saw him do, they still said, y'all remember the scripture, who he think he is? Ain't that the carpenter's son? We know him, we know this boy his whole life. I mean, it sounds good, but who he think he is? Because they thought they knew him. They thought they knew him. He was a grown man, but they could only know the 11-year-old, 12-year-old Jesus, whatever they known him for, and his father for whatever they known him for. They couldn't receive the message because they only can see the carpenter's son. They didn't even see him as a savior. And I'm not saying to see me as a savior, but I'm saying if it didn't, if the people of Christ's time couldn't recognize him and all the wonderful things that he did, imagine the light that was emanating from him. Imagine how he glue. Imagine how he shine. I'm not saying like, the halos that they put depict in movies, or like we saw actual halo, or there was actually, he was walking around glowing. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm sure it wasn't like that type of glow, but he had a glow. You know how you can see when somebody's happy, they got a glow about them, or when they say we get out of prison, they say, "Oh, y'all got a glow because we went so many years without fornicating and using drugs." I'm talking about that glow. He definitely had a glow. You know what I'm saying? You probably could feel the love emanating from his being. You know what I'm saying? But even with all of the works, all of the glow that he had, imagine the wisdom that he had. You know what I'm saying? I stutter when I talk. I stammer when I talk. I gotta think when I talk. Christ probably was able just to, not probably, he was able to just speak so effortlessly, so fluently, and still they sat and was like, "Look at this nigga. Who we think he is? Who we think he is? Ain't that the carpenter's son? Ain't that little Jesus? Ain't that Mary's son?" That's all they could see. And that's what I was telling that's all some people gonna see. And it's okay because it's not in their spirit to hear me. Some people, even if I wasn't me, let's say I was another person on here and I was way more handsomer, way more articulate, and it's just rattled off my tongue. Everything I'm saying was just rapid fire, right? Those same people still wouldn't be able to hear or see because either you could see or you can't. Simple. Simple. Either you could see or you can't. Either you're going to overstand or you're not. Either it's in your spirit to vibrate high or it's not. You can't teach that or preach that. It has to be in you. And the people who are always here, GP, Carla, Marlo, the people who are always here, Tommy, and everybody it's in their spirit. It's in their spirit. They're already going through what they're going through. Before they clicked on to Soel TV, they already was having their battles. They already was in their transition to change. They're already in the process of figuring things out, or they already figured it out. And sometimes you just need repetition. You just need to hear it. You need to hear certain things over and over and over again. You know what I'm saying? Like some of the brothers that I tune into on YouTube and TikTok, I listen to people too. I still be listening to people. I be driving to work and I be having certain TikTokers in my ear while I'm going to work. Why? Because I just need confirmation. That's all I am, is confirmation. Anyway, you know what I mean? I need confirmation. I need somebody to tell me. Sometimes when I go on some of these channels, exactly what I'm going through, when I click it on, is exactly what I need to hear. I might be going through with somebody, they say, love them from a distance. Stop letting people into your circumference and your circle. That's been the message in the last 30 days. And it's kind of been coming across in my lives, is because that is the final point. I don't care how much I change, how much I'm not committing crimes. One of the things that I'm doing now is I'm getting a lot of people out of my circle. My phone rings less and less and less. It's kind of been like that. But there's been people that I've been keeping around who I may respect their mind and business, and I may respect their mind and finance, or I may expect, I like some of their life advice, not spiritual advice, just regular life advice. And I've been keeping some of these people in my life, so to speak. But I'm about to stop all of that. For real. I'm about to make some new Christian friends. I'm about to make some new spiritual friends. They could be Muslim, Christian, Hebrew Israelites. I got a bunch of tarot card readers. I got a bunch of people who deal with Ephi and they're into different forms of spiritualism. It's not for me to judge what they're doing. I am not the all in all most high creator. I can't say what I know about some of the practices some people practice, but who am I? I'm not here to judge nobody. I could be wrong. You understand what I'm saying? And that's the problem with a lot of religious people who are super duper ultimate religious. They're going to tell you what's right and wrong based on something that they read, something that they was taught. I am not the judge of another human being. It's not for me to say who's right and who's wrong. Only thing I can say is I know vibrant energy when I see it. And if somebody's vibrating high, whatever their belief system is, because it could be another Christian who's not vibrating high. He could be a straight up Christian, go to church every Sunday, and they not vibrating high. Just because you call yourself a Christian and you go by the religious doctrine and you're doctrinated and you have all this religious dogma, that does not mean that, you know, we the same. It doesn't mean that we're the same. I may have more in common with somebody who practice Ifa. They may go every day to, you know, their shrine or their altar of Oshun. They may worship Oshun. Do I do that? No, I don't. But they may go to their shrine every single day. You know, they may do they zakat, or what the Muslims call charity. They may give zakat. They may go to their shrine every day. They may be faithful in what they're doing, but you know they're disseminating love, light, and healing in their life. It's not for me to say. Do I know what they're upon? Of course. The same way I may know that some Christians practice Christianity wrong. It's not for me to say though, because I could be wrong, right? My studies and something in my spirit or my discernment may be a little off. Do you understand what I'm saying? Sometimes you can have discernment, but because everybody has discernment, if you're spiritual and you're practicing the tenets of your discernment, right? But sometimes indoctrination can shift your discernment a little bit. Sometimes what we read and what we study and what we're taught can tweak what we believe. So we may have discernment, but because we're taught that the person is, let's like say a person is stealing, and we don't know that, we just have discernment. We just know, this person is a thief, this person is stealing, right? And because we're taught that stealing is wrong, we'll be like, all right, well, that person is stealing, so it's wrong, right? Because we're taught that it's wrong. It's probably a bad example because stealing is wrong, but the person could be stealing from, let's just say, Walmart, and they might could be stealing from Walmart, thousands of dollars from Walmart. But in them stealing from Walmart, they might be going to the shelter or the homeless or hospitality center and be giving out the blankets that they're stealing, or they're giving out the food that they're stealing from Walmart. You know what I mean? And they may be able to justify that. Like, I can't say they're wrong or right, because who knows? They might get to heaven one day, and I'll be like, well, you know, I'll be there to pass witness. Let's just say, for example, they'd be like, well, brother Soul, how do you feel about so and so and so and so? Right? And let's just see, I got to tell, right? I got to snitch. And I'd be like, well, I don't know. That person was stealing from Walmart. I know they were stealing thousands from Walmart, right? Because my discernment led me to believe that they were stealing, and I found out that physically they were stealing, right? So here I am passing judgment because I'm taught that stealing is wrong, but they may be up there and say, well, you know what, Christ, this is what was happening. And then they look and then they see that this person was stealing, but they was giving it to people who needed blankets, people who needed socks, people who needed food. Maybe he was stealing, but they threw out a certain amount of shit that they threw out, right? Say Walmart, the food section in Walmart, you know, after a certain time, they throw out all of the food and vegetables because it was too old. It was too old to be sold. That person might have been like, man, I ain't throwing this shit out. They might have loaded up their truck and then went and passed it out. So my discernment was right. They was stealing, because technically that's stealing, but Walmart was going to throw it out. And Walmart said that they can't pass it out because Walmart don't want to get sued. So they saying, well, throw it out. We could afford it. Throw it out. And this person might have broke the rules and stole it, so to speak, because you're taking it without permission, and gave it to people who actually needed it. So I say that to say our discernment comes from what we're taught. So we may be right with this whole stealing thing. We might be right with that. But we're not right with passing judgment on them, because what they was doing was actually a righteous deed, if that makes any sense. Because I used to do the same thing. I was stealing. I was at my job, and they threw out tons of food every single day. And when I asked, not just the manager at the store, I asked a DM, a district manager, when they come around and they do their tours, and I was like, well, instead of us throwing out all this food all the time, why don't we just, oh no, we don't do that because the people get sick and then they want to complain and then we get sued and this and that. So no, we just throw it out. It's no big deal. You know what I'm saying? And but I was just raised in a household where it was a big deal to throw food out. Where I'm from, it was a big deal to throw food out. You know what I mean? You had to be a certain age before you could scrape your own plate. We didn't just scrape our own plate because the little kid may not ate the chicken, all the chicken right, or there might be a whole bunch of collard greens left on that plate. You don't just throw that food out. There's people hungry. You know what I'm saying? That's how I was raised. So something in my spirit, it felt bad. I'm being honest, y'all. When I threw that food out, I couldn't believe I was throwing it out. It bothered me. It bothered me a lot to throw all that food out every single day. So what I was started doing was I would have to take it in the garbage can. I'll put it in 5 different bags, and I would put it in the garbage can, but I'll put it in 5 different bags. The food would never touch the garbage can, but I had to put it in the garbage can. And I would put it in the garbage can, and I would roll the garbage can out. I had my car parked by the dumpster off camera, and I would literally sneak the food into my car, and every day I would drive the food to the homeless and hospitality center, the hot food, and then the stuff like the bread and stuff like that, I would take to the food pantry, and I did that. I was stealing. I could have got fired, and I did it every day. Why? Because I couldn't see myself throwing the food out. See, I used that example, and then it came to my mind like as a perfect example, right? And I did it. Technically, I was stealing. Technically, I could have got fired, but I just didn't feel right throwing the food out. So in that scenario, somebody might be like, "Oh, well, yep, Bucks is a thief. I know he's a thief." They discernment might lead them to, "Yeah, he's doing something wrong. It's in my spirit that he's stealing. I don't know what it is, but it just feels like he's doing something crooked." That might be what you feel. Your discernment might lead you to the fact that, yeah, I am stealing. I am doing something crooked. I am doing something underhanded in my life. I'd rather there be that than some real crazily overtly overhanded underhanded stuff, right? But your discernment may lead you to knowing that what I'm doing something wrong. You just can't put your finger on it. Your discernment may even say stealing, and you'd be like, aha, I knew it. I knew it. But on the day of judgment, I feel I'll be able to justify that stealing. Because the only thing I was stealing was from the dumpster because they was throwing it out. I stole from the dumpster, right? Because it was going in the garbage. It wasn't like I stole it out the store or the store was selling it and I said, nah, I'm gonna steal it from the store and give it to the people who need it. Even though I did feel like some of that shit too, like some of the stuff that be in there, but I didn't, right? So sometimes our discernment and can be attached to our religious beliefs or the dogma, what we're taught is right and what's wrong. So you may feel something and be right, but because you're indoctrinated in a certain way, that indoctrination can mess with your discernment. And that's what people do all the time. So this ain't for everybody. I'm not for everybody, and that's okay. I don't care whether some of the people I grew up with care whether I changed or whether I'm a different person or not. The only thing that I care about is what are you telling the youth? The only thing that I care about if somebody comes up here and tries to insult my character or do something like that where somebody who wants to learn may be turned off, some of the youth or some of the little homies that may want to hear what I have to say don't want to hear what I have to say because somebody they look up to saying, "Oh, Bucks, nah, Bucks is this, and that." So it turns someone who might want to learn something, somebody who might be wanting to change, or somebody who wants to get out of the game. You understand what I'm saying? This is why I had to I had the big back and forth with Mel Cross, one of the big blood homies, somebody that I used to look up to when I was a kid. This is why I went back and forth with Mel Cross. It wasn't about me defending whether I took over 183rd and Creston or how many blocks we took over and all of that. It wasn't about that. I knew that a lot of young people look up to him because I used to look up to him. So because I knew that a lot of young people look up to him, no matter all of the stuff that I've been saying or I was saying, the only thing he wanted to attack was, oh, he ain't had work on Creston. He wasn't around OG Mac. He wasn't this. He wasn't that. So me attacking him was more because of that, because I know a lot of people listen to him. So I didn't wasn't defending the gangster shit. I wasn't defending how many blocks we took over or how I looked at the leader, the nigga who started Bloods in New York, and how I feel. No, I was telling you one thing for sure, two things for certain. The same way I could come up here and say that I told and gave up a whole bunch of homicides, the same way I could sit up here and admit to inadvertently helping people unalive one of my best friend's brothers, the same way I can get up here and talk about my abuses, the physical abuse and sexual abuse that I went through as a child, the same way I could come up here and be open and honest about that, why the hell would I come up here and lie or embellish or over exaggerate about any of the bullshit street shit that I did? And these street niggas and these gang members and these gang leaders are so full with pride and ego that no matter all of the good shit that I was talking about, the only thing he was focusing on was the gangster stuff. So me going back and forth with him and them is not about justifying it or trying to big it up. It was because I know people listen to you. I know people listen to you. So if you think you could poke holes in my story, then I know the young people who may tune in to hear about the murders, to hear about the street shit, or to hear about my time around OG Mac, or to hear about Weeks Avenue or Dipset, Harrell, Jim Jones, all of those who tune in to hear that kind of stuff. I have to go back and forth because I want to keep them tuned in. I want to keep them listening. I want to keep them listening, like the brother Beasley up here. How did you do the time right? Because you were helping the people. You did what you did when the time was right because you were helping the people. Right. Hold on. Jesus is King, God is Lord. That's right. Amen. Amen, amen, and amen. Listen, between what is correct versus what is right. Great example. Right. Right. Because we all gonna have interpretations of what's right and what's wrong. We all gonna have different interpretations of what's right and what's wrong. And a lot of it comes from indoctrination. A lot of it comes from what we're taught. And as you become older and you become more wise and more, your discernment starts to kick in spiritually, right? Then you begin to realize that a lot of what you was taught was a little off. A lot of what we're taught was a little off because we're taught things by people who it's like in school. I'm gonna give you another example. It's like in school, you're being taught by a teacher. So a teacher knows how to teach. That's what a teacher does. But sometimes the teacher hasn't the teacher hasn't used, let's say a math teacher. The teacher doesn't use a calculate all the time, or a teacher doesn't use algebra all the time. The only thing the teacher uses is the same math we use every day. When they get their check and they start adding up their hours and they say, "Oh, I work 40 hours and overtime, I get 15 hours an hour. So overtime is time and a half. So that means, okay, that means I'm gonna make 23.35, and then I work 10 hours overtime. So $23 times 10, that's $230. They use the same math that we use. They don't use algebra every day, all the calculates, all the extra stuff. They don't use that every day, all day. But they're a teacher. So because they're a teacher, they know the knowledge, they know the algebra front and back because they're a teacher. It's their job to know these things, but they're not using it or they're not practicing it religiously or all day, every day. And a lot of things that we're taught in life, we're just taught, but it wasn't practiced. Our parents may tell us to go to school, get an education, get a good job. They may not have had an education. They may not have had a good job. You understand what I'm saying? They know what you're supposed to do, and they're gonna tell you what you're supposed to do because they know what you're supposed to do, but they may not have even done it. And that's what happens with dogma. That's what happens with dogma, with a lot of dogma and a lot of religion. They teach you stuff and they're reading it from a paper, but they read about Christ. They never cast out a demon, right? They read about Christ healing people, but they never healed anyone. They read about Christ waking the dead, whether it's a spiritual waking somebody physically from the dead, or it's a spiritual awakening where they have given somebody, knowledge and wisdom to where that person was asleep and now that person now is alive in Christ, alive in love and alive in light. They've never done it. You understand what I'm saying? They've never done it. They only just reading it from a paper. And That's how most of the people in this world, this is how we operate. We go by what we were taught and told. But who's our teacher? What have they done in the spirit realm? Are they going to be like, Paul, when they went to cast out the demon and the demon tore their behind up and said, yeah, Christ, we know who he is. Peter, we heard of, but who are you? What authority do you have? You've been sitting there reading that Bible every day, but you ain't never cast out a spirit. You ain't never risen the dead, the spiritually dead. You haven't made the blind see, not the physical blind. Like you didn't make a blind man who was blind like Stevie Wonder. You didn't make him see, but you have made somebody who was blind spiritually. Have you made somebody who was blind spiritually? Have you made them see? Have you done that? And a lot of us haven't. You understand what I'm saying? I was just fortunate enough, and when I had my spiritual awakening, them brothers pulled spirits out of me. They didn't just sit down and read the Bible and told me to read my Bible and to be a good Christian and to be right and to be wrong. They pulled spirits up out of me. Before they pulled spirits up out of me, they had to give me a spiritual awakening. They had to remove a whole bunch of shit off of me before I could even go and get fully depossessed. You understand what I'm saying? And then they didn't hand me a bunch of words to read and say, look, give me money and come here every Sunday. They didn't do that. They gave me weapons on how to protect myself spiritually. They made me a spiritual detective. So I was able to detect when I was talking to a human being or when I was talking to the entity or energy connected to that human being. And they gave me some beautiful, beautiful life learned gifts, and it changed my life. I couldn't have just sat in the pews as a pupil or a novice. I couldn't sat in the pews as a pupil or a novice. I couldn't have. I couldn't just sat there and been a student and just read words all the time and just had a preacher preaching over me and reading. I'm hands on. I've been hands on. I had to be hands on. So you can read about all the marvelous things that Christ did. Me personally, you could have just read it, kept reading it, and it sounded like a great story. Once I seen a demon cast out, then I knew Christ was real. I had to see a demon cast out to know Christ was real. I had to see demons move and spirit be moved in order to know that Christ was real. I had to pray over my water to know that there is a such thing as holy water. I could see, they don't even do that in church, but I could see in the movies where they take the water and dash it on the person who's possessed and it burns their skin. I didn't necessarily said I seen that. I didn't see that. But making holy water to the point where a person takes a sip and the spirit that's connected to them has to leave that person's body, and that person is speaking to you in a natural state before that spirit comes back, before they allow that spirit back in. I had to see these things. I couldn't just sit there and take it because I've been in church in and out of church my entire life, and it never stuck with me because it sound impossible. Christ sound far-fetched. Christ sound far from me, right? And if you're telling me to be like Christ is not to lie, not to sin, not to cheat, not to have relationships with a woman unless we're married, all these things you're telling me not to do, it's hard for me to do it because I'm in the flesh. I'm a human, right? I'm born in the sin. So I'm born in this shit. I had generational curses. I had spirits connected to me. I'm living in a community where everybody's practicing witchcraft. So all these spirits is running around rampant, and I have no idea. I have no protection against any of these things. But yet I'm sitting in the church by somebody who's reading words off of paper. I'm sitting in the church with somebody who's just like the teacher of the math teacher, where he ain't never used algebra. He ain't never used the calculus. He ain't never used the things that the only thing he's good at is teaching me 1 + 1 is 2. Or 3 times, 15 is 45. You understand what I'm saying? He ain't out there. He ain't out there. He ain't in the streets. So I don't care how many times he told me the stories of Christ. I wouldn't believe it because I didn't see it. And guess what? Some people sitting there in the pupils every single Sunday still don't believe. Some people in the pupils, they still don't see. The disciples walked with Christ. Peter walked with Christ and he still denied Christ 3 times. He still denied him. When Christ showed himself to the disciples, they still didn't believe. He had to let them put his fingers in the hole that the nail went through in his hand. They had to feel it to see. They was still vibrating low to the point that they didn't even recognize him when he first came back. And they was right there with him. Right there. Could you imagine how about, to my devout Christians today, could you imagine walking with Christ every day? We ain't even seen him when we believe. We wasn't even there with him. There was people who was there with him and still didn't believe. You know how many Christians I know when they came to get Christ, they would have went all out. Like, take me too. I want to die. I want to get crucified. Crucify me right along with him. I'm ready to go. I done met my Lord and Savior. I know that there's a better afterlife. I know that I'm guaranteed the afterlife. I'm right here with him. It would have been 3 people on the cross. You could have took Barabbas, take Barabbas, give him back. The revolutionary that was unalive. Take Barabbas, whatever his name is, take him off, put me right there. I want to be on the right cross, right next to him, his right hand man. Oh shit! Don't laugh at me. I almost fell. I'm ready to go. They still wanted their life. They still was afraid. They was still afraid. They still wanted their life, and they was right there. They was right there. So imagine somebody 2,000 years later who been taught the Bible by their father's father, their grandfather, or whatever biblical college they went to, and they were taught how to preach the word and how to give a sermon, and they're sitting there trying to tell me, I'm not gonna say you, I'm gonna say me, because this was hard as a rock. Hard as a rock. As I just tapped on it right now, it sounded like I was knocking on this desk. This head was hard. When I say hard, I mean hard. I was one of them. If you had a son or a nephew or somebody who was just hard headed, you'd be like, boy, didn't I just tell you, boy? Every time you turn around, he's doing something. Every single time you turn around, he's doing something. You gotta watch him because you know he's gonna do something. That was me. My head was hard. You can't just read words off of paper to me. I got a big spirit. I have a big, bright spirit, and I need to do. I need to see. I need to believe. You understand what I want to believe, but I need to see. So I had to get mine the way I got mine. You couldn't just tell me. So as I'm up here doing what I'm doing, and I speak to some brothers and they saying, oh yeah, so-and-so said, or this one said, so I could be speaking no matter what I'm speaking up here, they're gonna call me and start talking about some money. Yeah, I see you getting that money on YouTube, boy. How much is paying you? They ain't said nothing about none of the stuff that I'm saying on here. All they talking about is the financial aspect. All they talking about is the money. Because that's all they see. And that's all they know me to be. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not that person. I'm not that person. And I'm not here to convince you. I'm here to tell you that I know why I'm not going to convince you, because you only see bucks. And to the multitude of people who's out here who don't even know bucks, don't even know me or the old me or the person that I used to be, some of you still not going to be able to receive the message. Some of y'all still not going to be able to receive the message. It ain't in your spirit to hear. Your spirit ain't going to allow you to hear. Your spiritual connections are not going to allow you to hear. Your generational curses are not going to allow you to hear. You know, some of the parasites and some of the things you eating are allowed to hear. You woke up this morning, you probably had a bowl of cereal or a bunch of syrup in your waffles and whipped cream on the top of it and syrup on top of it, and the sugar that's in your mind when they told you had ADD, because every morning you wake up and you put so much sugar on your brain that the sugar on your brain is not allowing you to stay focused, and there's so many things that's not going to allow the average person to hear what I'm saying, whether they judging me for bucks or they listening to brothers so well that they don't know from a can of paint, that they just tapped in just now when they're listening. It's not in their spirit to hear. Some people become so religious and so doctrinated in their belief in their relationship to Christ, because my relationship is different, right? Because my relationship with Christ is different, they're going to automatically shun me off, because their indoctrinations and their dogma is going to say, oh, he don't got no relationship with Christ. He don't know Jesus. Jesus is going to say he ain't know him. He going to say, yeah, Jesus, you know the scripture where it said, Jesus said, many gonna call my name, but when we get to the day, I don't know you. They're gonna say I'm one of them because my relationship is not the same as their relationship. Well, guess what? If you got two children, your relationship with both of your children is not gonna be the same. Never mind if you got 5 children, your relationship with each and every one of those children are not gonna be the same. Your relationship with your mother and your father is not the same relationship as your brother or your sister's relationship with your mother and father. The love is not the same. The communication is not the same. Your name is not the same. Your birthday ain't the same. Your attitude ain't the same. Your love and your light ain't the same. But doctrine, when you become doctrinated, they're gonna say this Bible is unchanged and this is how it's supposed to be, and you do it how I'm doing it, or my father ain't gonna accept you because your relationship is not exactly the same as my relationship. It's emphatically impossible. It's impossible. It's impossible. Whether you're Pentecostal, Seventh Day Avengers, Jehovah Witness, Mormon, Catholic, it's impossible for it to be the same because our doctrine is not the same. And that's what makes you different from me. That's what makes us different. It's because of our doctrine. But the difference is my doctrine is not different from your doctrine. It's the same doctrine. And it's a doctrine of love and light. It's to be as he was. It's to be as he was. The only thing I haven't done is given up my house and given up my job and given up my financial things that I'm doing down here just to preach the gospel. Because no matter how much we say we are Christ-like, the biggest thing that we're not doing is we have a home. We have a job. Christ didn't have a home nor a job. His home was his physical body and being stuck in his physical flesh to preach the word of his Father. That was his home and that was his job. He didn't have no home, no job. So we can strive to be Christ-like, to be like the anointed in the way we move, the way we think, and the way we vibrate down here. But in all reality, we still have our homes. We still have our jobs. We are what we do 95% of the time. And this is why I'm being diligent to make this my life and make this my job. Not just for the money because I'm tired of working, because I am. Not just because I don't want to be giving somebody 8 hours of my day every day, because I am. Not knowing that I deserve it spiritually, mentally, and physically. I'm better than that. We all are physically, mentally, and spiritually better than that. We just have to figure out what we are to do down here other than punch that time clock, because your time is and your energy is important. Like I always say, that's you have a spiritual bank account. And you spend your energy, if you spend the majority of your energy punching that time clock, then you're gonna get a paycheck because you got bills you gotta pay, you got things things you gotta do. But imagine if you spend 8 hours a day, 5 days a week praying and meditating. Imagine if you spend 8 hours a week, 8 hours a day for 5 days a week, studying whatever it is your religion, your practice, or manifesting, or meditating to manifest what you want. If you spent that same amount of time you spent at your job, you'll have everything you want down here. Everything you want down here. I promise you. I promise you. I promise you. I was doing it, and then I fell weak, and then I went back. I went back to work. I went back to punching the time clock. I went back to doing what I had to do. And then the minute I cut back, guess what? Everything doubled. I'm not going to get into the financial aspect of it, but trust me, when you take that leap of faith, when I took that leap of faith and I stopped working and I jumped on YouTube, not necessarily YouTube, but the relationships I made, the phone calls I started to get from people seeing me on YouTube, the relationships I started to make to people I met on TikTok, from me taking that leap of faith. No, I wasn't making the exact money from the actual TikTok or YouTube, but the relationships, the people. Like right now, it's 14 people in here. That's cool to have 14. It don't gotta be. There's times where it's 300 people in here. But even in the 14 or the 12 people that's in here right now, guess what? If I'm making a relationship with my monad, my oversoul, if I'm meeting my kindred spirits, if I'm meeting the people who You know, when we start doing Zooms and we start learning how to program this water and we start learning how to reverse, you know, diabetes and cancer and all these other things, never mind from the dietary shit. I'm talking about from meditation. I'm talking about from height, raising your vibrations and reversing whatever it is you got going on physically, mentally, and spiritually. When we start doing that, it's not going to be 300 people in that. It's only probably going to be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And that's cool because you know what I'm gonna have to go through spiritually in order to pull people out of the rut, to keep people vibrating high. You know how much fighting I'm gonna have to do. I'm not spiritually ready or inclined to do that for 100 people or 50 people or 60 people. I it's gonna have to be under 10 people. You understand what I'm saying? So that's okay. Hit that like button. I appreciate you. Thank you, GP. Thank you. Hit that like button, y'all. You understand what I'm saying? Well, it's we got 17 likes. I think the most people we had in here was 17, so we doing pretty good. You know what I'm saying? So everybody's not gonna be able to hear. Everybody's not gonna be able to hear. For real. I got 3 daughters, and I believe it's in all of their spirits to hear me. You know, but they don't hear the regular stuff is because they know me. They know dad. They know the street nigga. They know the nigga who was absent and always in prison. You understand what I'm saying? So yeah, they love me. Yeah, they got respect for me. Yeah, they know I love them and I'll do anything for them. But they may not be ready for this right now. And I already embrace the fact if they don't receive what I'm saying, that's okay. I love my daughters to death. I love them. I'm responsible for them as their leader or as their head. But one day they're gonna meet a man, if they're lucky enough, and he may take them in another direction. Right now they may not really hear me because they only see me in the light that they see me in. You understand what I'm saying? So no matter how much they know I got upstairs or how much jewels I give them esoterically or spiritually or whatever, it may not be meant for them to hear me either. And that's okay. So if I could say that about my children, right, then you know I mean that for anybody. If everybody don't hear you or understand where you at or see your growth or see your vibrations or vibrate on the same vibration you're vibrating on, then you have to love them from a distance. You have to. You have to. I'm being real. It's like your money, right? My kids always gotta get the money. If I got it, they gotta have it. If they ask, they gonna get it because they're my children, right? But when they become adults, let's just say hypothetically, and they decide they don't want to work or they decide they're going to sit on their behind and just wait for me to give it to them, after a while, I have to cut it off. I have to say, I don't have it. Get a job. Here's a job. You know, here, I spoke to somebody over there and I got you in over here. If they don't take it, they don't take it. Oh, they need a vehicle around here. Well, take the little hoopty. This will get you back and forth to work or whatever. Then they use the hoopty and they're using it for everything but to go to work. And then whatever happens. I could say I help, but then there's have to be a cutoff point because now it's not about the money. It's not about the money. Forget the money. It's not about the money. It's not about the money. It's about the energetic exchange. I can't just continue to give if you don't want to change, if you don't want to grow, if you don't want to elevate. You'll pull me down before I could pull you up. You ever heard that saying? It's like two people who I barely know how to swim, you can't swim, and I'm trying to jump back in to save you, and you're wailing around and you're not listening. I'm trying to tell you to relax so I could get us both back to shore. If you're wailing around and I barely know how to, I might know how to swim, but I don't know how to rescue nobody. So I'm trying to hold you with one arm and swim with the other, but you're wailing around, you're gonna pull us both down. And you may hold on to me so tight that when I sink to the bottom with you, you may not let me go. Not because you want me to drown with you, but because you hoping I could get us back to the top and back to shore. So we both drown. They will pull you down before you can pull them up. So you have to know how to disseminate your energy and how to cut it off when it no longer serves you. And I'm not saying served you as like financial or whatever the case may be. I mean when it's depleting your energy. You could just pray for them. Pray for them. Pray that they give a discernment. Pray over them, and as you're in your meditations, see light around them. That's all you can do. Did I go to church today? No, I didn't go to church today. There's actually a brother who I be listening to him. I listen to him most Sundays, depending on when I come on. He starts his sermons at 11. And I was busy. I just got this computer, so I've been trying to get my channel right. So I didn't go to church. I don't really physically go to a church. There's churches that I have physically went to, but I rarely physically go to church. It's been a while since I physically went to a church. Maybe about like 2 months. I think I went on my birthday, March 15th. That's a while ago. Yeah, I went on my birthday. And I went that week. So March, April, May, June. Yeah, it was almost 3 months ago. But there is a pastor that I listen to every Sunday. I didn't listen to him today though. So that counts as church as a physical church. But I have church every day. I'm in my Bible every day. It's not right here because I got this computer, so I move. Good to see you not talking about low level. Yeah, I go back there sometimes. I go back there sometimes. Energy, any more blessings. Yeah, I go back there sometimes. And the reason why I go back there sometimes because every time I do go back there, I pull somebody up. Every time I go low vibrational, I pull somebody up. There's a couple of brothers who when I go back to that or they ask me certain questions about certain old stuff and stuff like that, and they stick with me. They're on here every day and they know I'm not talking about that stuff no more for the most part. So sometimes you got to go back there. Sometimes you got to go back there. It's like when they asked Christ, why he was at the table, why he was eating with certain people. Sometimes you got to go eat with them. Sometimes you got to go sit with them. You already healed. You got to go amongst the sick. You have to go amongst the sick in order to heal more people, right? If you healed already, they don't need healing. The people in the church don't need healing. So when I go to the church, I can't heal nobody in there. They're there to hear the word already. They're already in church, right? They're already in their Bibles. They already know their way around the Bible. They already know the stories. They already, fasting and praying and meditating and doing the things that they're supposed to do. So to go there, it's more for me when I go. But when I go to the streets or when I'm on here talking about low vibrational things, or if I go back to 050 or I go back to Kai Reality or Harlem Legend, and when I go back to one of those channels, I'm going back to talk about what they want me to talk about, but I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about, if that makes any sense. Oh, the real estate thing. We really more into property management. That's what we're doing. Um, once I get these I don't like to. I may have said this. I think I haven't seen you writing on here before, so I don't know if this is like if you're new, but I kind of like started staying away from saying exactly what I'm doing anymore. But we still doing it. We still doing that. We more towards the property management thing until we get a certain couple of things with the credit right, and these banks, they want to see that you had a stable job for 2 years, and I'm just about to reach my 2 year mark, and stuff like that. So we're doing little certain things with that, but it's still there. Everything is still there. You know, I know you've been here for a while. It's been a while since you actually wrote up here. I remember the name though, but it's been a while. So yeah, everything is still what everything is. I right now know I'm going into this channel. I got this computer. I got this brand new computer, and this is from a person. I've never had a computer. I've never had a computer. I've had them, but I had a computer so long ago that it used to take the CD on the side and used to could play movies. That's how long ago I had a computer. Like the side used to come out the side and you could put a CD in it and then it close back up. That's how long I had how long it's been since I had a computer. And even when I had that computer, I just used to watch movies on it. I used to carry it around basically as a DVD player, right? So I'm just learning my way around this computer. And that's what I'm doing because this computer is going to be how I do what I want to do on this channel. It's going to help me put together a visual so people could see what I'm saying, and I could put together better videos because all those videos that's on my channel, the street stuff, all those videos, I put those videos together, but I did it with a cell phone. And it's way harder to do with a cell phone. The quality is horrible. The apps are horrible. And so now I'm trying to make the transition from cell phones to this computer so I could grow this channel to where I want it to be, because I want it to be more interactive. I want people to be able to talk. I want people to be able to come up. I want to be able to have panels. And as I'm quoting scriptures, I want to be able to show the scriptures. I want to be able to show the comparison to scriptures from the Bible, from to the Quran, or maybe the Bhagavad Gita, or other the Numi Alish, any of these religious texts. Then I could show them all side by side and show how they're similar. So it's a lot. It's a lot I got to do. But I appreciate you. Thank you for paying attention. Thank you for questioning me. Always questioning me. Always ask me questions. Always, if I'm slipping, let me know. If you see something, let me know. Somebody said something that was real, one of the realest things. And I speak to people that know me every day, and they kind of alluded to it. And then once somebody on here said it, I went and asked them, and they was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Well, why you ain't tell me that?" And what somebody on here said, they was like, I feel like when they said it in the comments though, under one of the videos or lives, and a person said, I feel like you're defending Bucks a bit too much. And I could tell when you're becoming him, when you defend him, you become him, right? And it was real. It was real because I seen that in myself. When I watched some of the videos back over again and I'm watching it, I seen that in myself. I did. I felt it when I was doing it. And I piped it down as I was doing it. I checked myself and I humbled myself as I was doing it. And I said it like, well, I'm not him and I'm not, you know what I mean? And then when I went back and watched it, I saw it. So somebody on here said that, and it just it basically just confirmed what I was feeling. And when they said it, I went and spoke to some of my closest friends that watched this, and I'm like, "Yo, did you feel it?" It was like, "Yeah, I was gonna tell you that," and I'm like, "Well, why you didn't tell me? Why you didn't say that?" So always keep me, ask me questions, and keep me focused, keep me, because I'm a working in process, beloved. Right. The pain is real. I also would tell you similar things. Yeah, I'm a work in process. Like I'm not 1,000% there. I'm more than 50% there. I know that. I don't know what percentage, but I'm more than 50% there. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm getting to the point where I'm checking myself even when I'm in communication. So sometimes when I pause, I'm trying to make sure I'm not coming from a standpoint of pride and ego. You know what I'm saying? When I pause, I'm thinking more about what I'm saying, because my emotions and my thoughts may lead me to say something that I probably shouldn't say. You know what I'm saying? They don't always have to be in defense. Sometimes, when people, yeah, sometimes it is. When people come on here and they start talking religion and stuff like that, and they start getting into the books and stuff, then I start going back into the books. And that'd be pride and ego. That'd be pride and ego. Because the book don't mean nothing. What you read doesn't mean anything. The knowledge you acquired and all the things you read and all the stuff you came across in literatures, and none of that don't mean anything. It's how you moving. It's what's in your spirit. You understand? What's a part of your daily practices? Who are you every day? Who are you before the camera come on and when the camera goes off? Who are you? You understand what I'm saying? So always check me, and I appreciate you, and I like the fact that you're paying attention. But yeah, I'm doing more of the property management thing right now. You know what I mean? Learning the ropes. I didn't go to school for real estate. I didn't even study real estate in prison. You know, I was learning about stocks and finances, but real estate is something I stumbled upon, being in a relationship with someone who was cleaning houses. And through her cleaning houses, I began to make relationships with a lot of realtors. And being in relationships with them, I began to learn the game. And then that's why we went down that path. So it's still a learning process. And I'm just building my credit and doing the things that I had to have to do on the foundation aspect before we jump full fledged into it. But thank you for asking though. It shows you're paying attention. I read that in a book a long time ago. It says in psychology, it says you could always tell if somebody really cares, because they'll ask you about something. They'll ask you like, well, if you say that your mother's sick, you might not speak to the person for 6 months, and but then the first time when y'all speak again, they'd be like, well, how's your mom? You know what I mean? They genuinely concerned. It's still on their mind. It was on their mind to see if this was going on. So for you to say that lets you know that you may have seen the video and you like, hey, well, what's going on with that? You know what I mean? As I'm up here talking about, financing it and what we're doing with our 8 hours a day. You know what I'm saying? But it's always about entrepreneurship. And I say that, not to act like I'm holier than thou or I'm smarter than the average bear or whatever the case may be, but um if you love what you're doing, that's one thing. If you're a nurse and you're naturally a healer, then continue to be a nurse. If you work for CPS because you like to, help children out or be there to make sure children are being taken care of and not abused, continue to do what you're doing. You know what I mean? If you're a psychologist or psychiatrist because you love the human mind and you love, fixing people in that way, if you're doing something that you love and that you're passionate about, you know what I'm saying? And it's not just about a paycheck. Then continue to do that, especially if it's about helping. All of the occupations that I just named, those are all occupations that people get into it because they want to help people. A lot of people who work for CPS, Child Protective Services, even if they taking people children, sometimes children need to be took and need to be put into another home. Not saying the government has the right to do that, but some children need to be saved, right? So if and healers, nurses, and doctors, if some people are naturally healers, they want to fix people. You know what I mean? They want people to be healthy. You know what I mean? So that's the field that they're in. So if you're in the field where you're actually helping people and you enjoy helping people, then continue. Even if you're in finances, you just love money so much, even though you shouldn't love money. But if you really enjoy money and you're in the money game because you like money or whatever the case may be, or real estate because that's what you like to do and you're making a good couple dollars doing it, then do what you love. Continue to do what you love. But if you're doing something that you don't enjoy, I don't care how much money you're making, then you need to start looking into doing something that you enjoy, that you could put your energy into, and it's not just about a paycheck. You know what I'm saying? You could make money doing something that you love because physically, mentally, and spiritually, it is refreshing to get paid to do what you love to do. It is refreshing if you could get paid to do what you love to do and it's helping people. Man, that reward is triple fold. That reward is triple fold because you're getting money, you're enjoying it, and then you're also getting blessings spiritually because you're actually helping somebody. You understand what I'm saying? And this is why this is going to be my full-time job. This is why I invested into this computer that I probably couldn't afford, that I don't even know how to work. You know what I'm saying? But I know in order to go to the next level on this channel, I need this. I need this because I look at other people's channels and I say, I need that. When I see them talking and they could put up the thing on the side and everything that they're talking about, or they could play a news clipping and they're right there live. Because I could put the news clipping and put a recording of me talking under the news clipping. I know how to do that. But you know what I mean? When I could play a live, news clipping, and I could talk as it's playing and I could pause it and, and rewind it as I'm speaking. I want to be able to do that. I want to be able to have 4 or 5 of us on the side of it so we can openly talk as I got the news clipping playing. Or I could highlight scripture as the 5 or 6 of us are on the side talking, kind of like TikTok. You know what I'm saying? If I could, so this computer can let me format my YouTube channel like TikTok. I like how TikTok is set up. I wish YouTube was set up like that. I probably wouldn't even need the computer. Get the money. Come on, Beasley. Come on, Sleeves. I'm not talking about like just to get the money. I'm just talking about to format it better. To format it better. You know what I'm saying? So it's more interactive. Because I'm not the most articulate. People saying, yo, you talk real good. I ain't know you talk that good. I'm actually not the most articulate. I know people who, They talk real good. They don't stutter, they don't stammer. They don't have to say yeah I mean or nah I mean or after every sentence I do, because that's a point of reference. I use that, and then it give me time to think of the next line that I'm gonna say or whatever the case may be. So I feel like once I have the computer set up and I have the topic set up, I could ping pong off of when I go to what I'm showing y'all. I want to be able to go to it because I be saying a lot of shit. I read a lot of stuff, right? So when I be trying to explain what I read, like you know, Hippocrates or Hippocrates, the Greek guy, I want to pull that up. I want to be able to show that. When I speak about Carl Jung, I want to be able to show that. Sigmund Freud, I want to be able to show that. I want to have it up there. You understand what I'm saying? When we speak about schizophrenia, I want to have it up there. I want to have the diagnosis up there. I want to break down, what the attributes of the spirit of schizophrenia actually is. When I speak about the movie Split, I want to be able to have it up there. So when people see it, they can go and take notes, or they can go right to it themselves and see exactly what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I invested in the computer. I'm going to make this my job. This is my job. You know what I mean? Now I'm coming on every 2 days, every 3 days. Some days I go back to back, and then some days I might, like I think last week when I went, to my family member's wedding, I think I was off almost a whole week. I wasn't on for like 6 days. You know what I'm saying? I want to get to the point when I'm on here every day. You know what I mean? But I don't want to just be up here just freestyling like I've been doing. I don't take notes. I don't be having stuff ready. I just turn it on and just start going. You know what I'm saying? I don't really want to do that no more. I want to have everything set up. You know what I'm saying? I want to have it professionally. I want to do it the right way. So everything makes more sense. You're only human. But yeah, so to the people in my former life, it's okay, man. You understand what I'm saying? It's okay that you see me the way you see me. It's okay for you to feel how you want to feel. If you're still in the streets, I actually understand why you feel the way you feel about what I did. I have to understand because when I was in the streets and a person snitched or a person went against the rules and regulations and the way that we abide by them, of course I view them in a certain light. You understand what I'm saying? So I understand. I understand. It's okay. You are where you are, and you have to be where you're at. You understand what I'm saying? It's not meant for everybody to be to lead the streets, or there has to be gangbangers. There has to be people that goes into the prisons. There has to be people that keep the prisons packed. There has to be people that keep the graveyards packed. There's have to be people to keep the drug rehabilitation centers full. The psychiatrist or the psychologist needs somebody to sit down on the table so they can preach to them and teach to them and figure out what's going on with them. Thank you for the gift. Thank you for the gift. I appreciate it. It has to be that way. Everybody can't be healed. Everybody can't be walking in love and light. Everybody can't be Christ-like. It's not meant for everybody. It's not. It's not. As I speak entrepreneurship, everybody's not going to be an entrepreneur. Some people have to work at McDonald's. If everybody was an entrepreneur, we couldn't get our McDonald's. Our fries wouldn't be hot. It'd be a robot doing it. You know what I'm saying? Somebody has to DoorDash. Somebody has to work at the register at Walmart. I still don't even know how to do self checkout. I'm just learning how to do self checkout. So there has to be somebody at the register so I can come up there with cash money and buy what I'm buying with cash money. You understand what I'm saying? I don't fully know how to do the self checkout yet. So I say that to say everything ain't for everybody. If everybody in this world was vibrating high, we wouldn't be on the third dimension. We would already be in the higher dimensions. We would be on fifth dimensional Earth. The reptilians would have had to leave. We wouldn't have to wait for Christ to come back. We wouldn't need a rapture, right? We wouldn't need a rapture. We wouldn't need all of the things that's spoken about in Revelations if everybody was vibrating high. Everything would be straight. We wouldn't need heaven. We would already be in heaven. Right or wrong? If we didn't learn nothing from the Bible, one thing we did learn is that things has to be what it has to be, or the Bible ain't real. There has to be something to be saved from. If the Bible wasn't real, the devil wouldn't be real. If the devil ceased to exist, if we got the devil out on our own, then we would make the Bible wrong. Even though I know we could. But the reason why things have to happen the way things was written is because a vast majority of us, through morals and dogmas, through um, being babies spiritually, through constant reincarnation into this third dimension, through all of the things that we go through, whether it's generational curses, blinders and blockage and spiritual attachments and all the things, soul ties and everything that we do down here to keep our spirits off. It has to be this way. Earth is a school. If everybody knew everything, then Earth wouldn't be a school, right? If everybody knew everything, there would be no reasons for schools. If we was born with our consciousness and our capacities, then there would be no school. There would be no daycare. There would be no baby bottles. There would be no walkers. There would be no strollers. We would all come out the womb just like the animals in the wilderness. A horse fall out his mother, get up and start walking. A gazelle, a mother gazelle give birth to a gazelle right on the Serengeti. The gazelle fall out the mother, and when the mother see the lions, the mother start running, and the baby gazelle, whatever it's called, I don't know if it's called a baby gazelle, but whatever it is, it gets up and it start running too. And it been out his mother a whole 30 days, but in the 30 days now we know how to run from a lion or run from a hyena. We not born that way. I appreciate you, Marlo. We're not born that way. We're not born that way. When turtles are born, uh, the turtle buries the eggs into the sand, and when them baby turtles dig their way out of the shell, comes out of the egg, and it digs its way to the beach, the turtle automatically knows the direction to walk to the ocean. And them baby turtles walk their way all the way to the ocean. Nobody told it. It don't know how to get to the ocean. It knows the way to get to the ocean. Not only does it know the way to get to the ocean, it already knows how to walk. Not only does it already know how to walk, when it hits the water, the waves carry it into the water, and those baby turtles go into the ocean. Those baby turtles know what to eat, what to hunt, what to eat, what not to eat, how to, maneuver around through the enemies. They naturally come into Earth knowing what they have to do. If human beings came into Earth knowing what we have to do, then there's so many institutions that would cease to exist. The schools would cease to exist. The churches would cease to exist. Hospitals would cease to exist. You know why? We wouldn't need none of them if we came out the womb like a turtle or the baby gazelle that hit the ground running. You know how many animals the mother and father don't nurture it? It gives birth and the thing comes out of the egg and it start living its life. It start already knowing what to do. I ain't even gonna say figuring it out because they already know what to do. They already know how to escape predators. They already know how to hunt. They already know where their food is at. They already know how to procreate. They already know what they have to do to keep their species alive and existent. Humans are not like that. This earth is the school. We're born not knowing. You understand what I'm saying? So I don't get offended when a person is not ready. I don't care if they 13 or 33 or 63. Y'all know what I'm saying? I meet people every day, man. They could be in their 60s and they'll have the mind and the mentality of a child. And you can meet a child who already, man, I met a brother on TikTok. He was 14 and he blew my mind. He blew my mind. Clearly, this young man came and, 14 is like, we was on somebody else's chat and I knew he was young. And I asked him how old. I thought he was like 21, 22. He was 14. He shouldn't even been in the conversation. We wasn't talking about nothing bad or nothing like that. But he was 14 and he blew my mind. And you know what he said? He said something that blew my mind because I might have felt this way, but it took me years to feel how he was feeling. And he said, yeah, I'm on here because my parents have no idea. My parents can't teach me what I need to be taught. So I just be on YouTube. And yeah, he said YouTube and TikTok. And he was searching for knowledge. And you could tell he was young because he was asking a lot of questions, which was a good thing. But he said it. He said, man, my parents can't teach me what I need to be taught. 14-year-old Caucasian kid, 14-year-old Caucasian kid. He blew my mind. And a lot of the stuff that I was saying, he already knew. And I was like, well, how do you know? He said, well, I be reading. And I watch a lot of YouTube, and I watch a lot of YouTube videos. And he was so intelligent, so spiritually inclined, and so ready for everything. And he was like, yeah, I just keep asking because I need to know. I said, young man, he was like, wow, see, I want to be like this. What he said to me. He said, man, I want to be like you, man. I want to be like that when I'm your age. I said, young man, where you at your age, you're going to surpass where I'm at, because I wasn't where you were at 14. At 14, I was already selling drugs and chasing tail feathers. All I was doing was chasing women around, young girls around. That's all I was doing. I said, I didn't have a inclination of how this, where we came from. I didn't even have the thought of where souls emanate from. That's what he was asking. Or who's the real God? Or who's the God in the Bible? And why there's so many gods and so many things. All those questions you have, young man, at 14 years old, I did not have near none of those questions, man. So for you to say that, I appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? I actually take it as, I really appreciate the compliment coming from you. That's what I told him. I said, I really appreciate the compliment coming from you. I said, but young man, you have a very old soul, man. Just keep doing what you're doing. The only thing I told him is, I said, when you listen to these messengers and these teachers and you accent and you, as you quest for knowledge, I said, try your best to always try to come from a love and light standpoint and always try to vibrate high. And I said, second, never mind what somebody could teach you and what they're rattling off. I said, always look for healing. Always look for somebody who could tell you how to heal yourself, how to love yourself. I said, always look for resolve. Don't let just somebody give you a bunch of knowledge. Always try to get to the what, the who, what, when, where, and the why. Make sure all your questions is answered. You know what I'm saying? As you're looking for a teacher, look for somebody who's trying to heal, because everybody can have knowledge. Look for healing, look for protection, and look for resolve. You know what I mean? But I say that to say, 14 years old, and he said it. My parents, they go to work, they provide for me, but they don't. They. I want to say he said they were still asleep. He said something, and he blew my mind. He was like, "They can't teach me what I'm here to learn." And I said, "Well, you're an old soul, man." I said, "You're an old soul," and I was telling them about what I be telling y'all. I said, that may be your physical family. You may be born into that family. You know what I mean? But they may not be ready for you. You may be an older soul. You may have been put in there to enlighten them and to bring them up, or maybe because of past life karma, they may have put you back in that family to bring you steps back. You know what I'm saying? I said, but keep vibrating high. I said, because it may not be your parents, but maybe your grandfather. He was like, it's funny you say that. He said, because everything he tell his parents, his father says that his father's grandfather was just like him, and that he was a Mason. He said that they were Masons and they were in the, all this esoteric stuff. He said his dad wasn't. He said, but his grandfather was. He said, but his great grandfather, which is his father's grandfather, he said his father's grandfather used to sit his father down. But his father said, "Yeah, my granddad used to talk all of that nonsense that you're talking or whatever, whatever." I said, "Well, it's either you might be your great grandfather. I said you might be your great grandfather. I said, or you may have emanated from his spirit. You know what I mean? Your parents may not have it, but you come from a bloodline of it. You know what I'm saying? So, 14. But everybody, the point that I brought him up for is everybody's not born like that. If we were all born like that, if we were born like other creatures, born knowing exactly what we are to do down here, then all these institutions would cease to exist and we wouldn't be down here. The Bible wouldn't be true. We wouldn't need none of the rapture. We wouldn't need Christ to come back. The devil would cease to exist if we were all born with everything we are supposed to have. It'd be a whole different world. A whole different world. So everything ain't for everybody. And For all my brothers and sisters who, you know, who are still in that life, I overstand, man. And I know why you feel the way you feel about me, and that's okay. You know what I'm saying? But do not put yourself in a predicament where you're facing a life sentence because you don't know what you would do. Don't just view me because I did what I did as the bad guy or the enemy. As you're still in that lifestyle and you're still in that mind frame, be mindful of the people that you're around. Be mindful. Be mindful of the brother that you're around and y'all committing crimes, unaliving people or dealing drugs or doing things that may cause you to face a life sentence. Look at these brothers because they may not tell when y'all got arrested, but he's cheating on his girlfriend. He's cheating on his wife. He has a child outside of his relationship with another female, but because the child came outside of his marriage or because the child was conceived outside of his relationship, he neglects that child. Pay attention to the neglect of that child. Pay attention to the guy who comes out of his house chasing a skirt every day. Pay attention. Don't just look for the brother who snitches or the brother who runs when y'all get into a physical altercation. He didn't stand his ground. Don't just look at the physical aspect of the street shit and pass judgment. Look at the morals and principles of the people that you're around. Pay attention to that. Pay attention. Because y'all might get arrested and he may not tell, but he's cheating on his girlfriend. He can't keep his penis in his pants. All he does is chase tails all day. And you see him pick up the phone for Jessica, and he telling Jessica he love her. Then he pick up the phone for Shamika. He telling Shamika he love her. You seen him telling 5 different girls that he love them and they're his girlfriend. And he got 5 girls. Don't look at it as cool. Step back and look and know that you're looking at a liar. Know that you're looking at somebody who's disloyal. Know that you're looking at an opportunist. Know that. Know that. Pay attention. Don't just put the rules on when it comes to telling because a person get arrested. Keep the rules the rules. The rules have to always remain the same. And as long as you're in the streets and you're doing foul shit, none of the rules do apply when it comes to morals and principles. Because if you're dealing drugs, you're taking something that's harming a family, that's breaking down a family structure. You're taking that and saying, never mind what that person has going on in their home front. I want to make money off you, so I'm going to sell you this weed, this crack, this dope, this coke, this fentanyl, which is horrible. I don't care what you got going on. I don't care how you need to get up this $40 to $50 every single day you're coming to see me. I don't care what it took for you to get this $40 to $50 every single day. I'm just going to keep giving you these drugs because I want some money. If that's your lifestyle and that's what you're upon, then no matter what your homies do, the connect do, or anybody that's in the streets in that lifestyle with you, you're doing wrong. It's foul. It's all foul. You can't put a right or wrong when you're doing wrong. There's no right ways to do wrong. It's all wrong. All of it. If you don't take care of your kids but flee and get high every day, you a clown. Right. You understand what I'm saying? Pay attention to that. Pay attention to that. Because there was a time where I say, well, if a nigga don't take care of his kids or he cheating on his wife, then he's the type of dude that get locked up and he'll snitch. Nah, not necessarily, right? Because the dude might not take care of his kids. The dude may cheat on his wife, lie every day, right? And then y'all get locked up and he don't tell. Is he a liar? Yeah. Is he selfish? Yeah. Do he lack morals and principles? Hell yeah. If he don't take care of his kid, hell yeah. If he's sleeping around and he's supposed to be committed and he's telling lies to a multitude of women just to have, a sexual tryst with these women, yeah, he's devoid of morals and principles and values and things like that. But he still might not tell on you. You know why? Because he may value the game. He may value his name in the streets. That may be the only thing he has to hold on to. So just because he doesn't tell doesn't mean he's loyal or doesn't mean he's a real nigga. It just means that he's an opportunist, and the streets and his name in the streets may be valuable to him because he don't know nothing else. So he can't tell or he won't tell because he knows that he needs to be who he needs to be in the streets to continue to be a street nigga. Those type of people won't tell until they get into a certain situation. Those type of people. Then you have the people who are facing a life sentence and they take their life sentence. You have those kind of people who face a life sentence and they take a life sentence and they'll go, why? The same reason. They may be big in the gang and they just want to be big in the gang because the gang is their life. The gang is more of their life than their own children. The gang is more of their life than their mother, their sisters, their brother, their family. The gang is more important to them than those people because they're making a choice to say, nope, this is I'm gonna die or I'm gonna go to the grave being this stand-up nigga or being this the big homie or being Bloodhound or whatever his name is, whatever name he gang he attaches himself to. Because that's where his morals and principles lie. That's where his loyalty lies. He's not loyal to his children because if he was loyal to his children, he'd have never been in the streets. If he was loyal to his wife and his family, he would have never been in the streets. Simple. Simple. Once you get arrested that first time, or you see people that get arrested that first time, you be like, and you love your children, and your children are your world, and every day you dropping them off to school, every day you're the one feeding them, you're the one changing the diapers, and you remain the person who's changing the diaper. I'm talking about when you changing that diaper, when you know that baby poo-poo, you know you the one that gonna change the diaper. When that baby hungry, you the one that makes sure the baby got a bottle. When the baby eats and it learns to walk, and as this child is progressing and goes to school, you have the relationship with the teachers. You watching the grades slip or jump up. You're actually super hyperactive in this child's life, like the mothers is, most of the good ones, right? And you become that person, you will never go into the streets to go against that because that becomes whatever it is you're trying to find in the streets, whether it's money, validation, whatever it is, all of that, your validation and your energy comes from you nurturing the relationship with that child, or you nurturing a relationship with your wife and your children, or you nurturing your relationship with your mother, sister, brother, father, and your core group of spirits, that family you was born into. That becomes more important than the street shit. So anytime somebody chooses, whether we tell ourselves psychologically, we just trying to get money to take care of our family and get a house and buy our mamas a house and send our kids to college and buy vehicles when they graduate high school and all the shit that most of us don't do. Not because we don't want to, but it just the streets never allow you to most of the time, some of the times, half of the times, right? If those is really your thoughts, plans, then you would do anything in your power to make that come to fruition without putting yourself at jeopardy to go to prison. So when a person decides to go the other route and they do get arrested, most people, because that's where their energy was in the streets, that's why some niggas go to the grave not telling, because that's who they are. They're a street nigga. They're not a father. They're a street nigga. So they take their time and they go up north or they go to the feds and do their life sentences because they're a street nigga. They're not a father. They're not a husband. They're not a son. They're not a man. They're a street nigga. There's a difference between a man and a street nigga, a big difference. And in the penitentiary, they have a bad habit of saying, "Oh, he's a man," and what they mean by that is, "Oh, that's another good man right there," meaning he didn't tell on nobody, so he's a good man. That doesn't make him a good man when he got a whole family out there that he's neglecting because he decided to take that time. That doesn't make him a good man when he had a whole family out there to take care of, but he still chose to go sell crack, dope, and coke, or he still chose to go do that gang sanction hit, or he still chose to listen to what the big homie said and it landed him in prison. That's not a man. That's a gangbanger. 37 years and 30 to life. Hold on. My bro took 30 years and left his twins out here. Dolly. I respect it, but I was surprised. They was like 1 years old at the time. Boys too. 37. 37 years at 30 is life. Yes, it is life. It is life. And I know a multitude of people like that. I know a multitude of people like that. But when they write his story, In the beginning of the story, it's not going to say a father of two twins. Once upon a time in the South Bronx, a father of two twins. It's not going to say that. It's not going to say once upon a time in the South Bronx, a husband and a father of two twins took 30 to life. It's not going to say that. His story is going to go, once upon a time in the South Bronx, there was a gangbanger. Or once upon a time in the South Bronx, there was a crack dealer who had a wife and two twins and did XYZ and got 30 years. That's how they write your story. When they write your story, they say who you are. And who you are is what you do. You ever hear them stories? Think about the stories, the old fairy tales when you be like, once upon a time there was a blacksmith, or once upon a time there was a shoemaker. When Disney wrote these stories, because a lot of these stories, these esoteric stories, you know them, Disney, Walt Disney and the writers, they understood energy and they knew how to tell these stories and a lot of these fables and these tales. And the reason in the fable would tell, it tells you because it's telling you who the person is. So when you think of the blacksmith, you know what a blacksmith does. When you think of the carpenter or you think of the shoemaker, you know what a shoemaker and a carpenter does. He's stating that he's a shoemaker because that's what he spent the majority of his time. The shoemaker may have had a wife, the shoemaker may have had children, the shoemaker may have been religious, but the first thing it says is who he was, and who he was a shoemaker. So those people or brothers like that, they're street niggas. They're not men. Because when you tell a man's story, it's going to say a husband and a father. Because that's what men are put here to do, is to be protectors and providers and to carry on the lineage of their families and to protect and provide. That's what a man is. If you're not doing any of those things, then you're other than. You're other than. Now he the big blazer. All these little niggas under him never met him are gonna meet him. Exactly. Same thing with Shark Baller. Same thing. He went to jail at 18. When he went to jail, his baby wasn't even one. His son wasn't even one. He went to jail before his son's first birthday and got 50 to life. And now he's a big gang leader, a whole bunch of people under him who never met him. As I went through the prison system, it amazed me how, you know, how his legend had grew and everything like that. But he's one of those people. When somebody said in the chat the other day, it was like, yeah, everybody you was with, they would have told too. Like, no, I know a couple people who wouldn't, and he's one of them. That's who he wants to be. That's what his life is geared around. And you got to remember, he went to jail at 18, so he didn't even have the opportunity to be a man. He doesn't know what it's like to work a job. He doesn't know what it's like to pull overtime or to spend your last money on Pampers or his last dollars to keep the lights on or to put gas in his car to get to work and pay all his bills and then go do it again tomorrow just to make sure, little Gavin has what he needs. He doesn't know those things. He went to prison at 18. So his life is what his life is. He doesn't know anything but 175th Street. That's all he knows. Mac Baller Brim, gang banging and unaliving people. 50 years of life is a whole life, yes. He unalived 5 people. He actually has 75 to life, actually. He started out with 75, but he caught some kind of loophole and gave most of that time back. But he unalived 5 people. He ended up having 75 to life at 18 years old. He wasn't 18 when he got sentenced. He probably was 20, but he got arrested at 18. And yeah, you can ask a question. Always ask. Don't ask me to ask. Just ask. You could always ask. Who worse, Kenroy or Gavin? Who's Kenroy? Kenroy. Who's Kenroy? I don't know who Kenroy is. Sounds familiar, but I don't know who Kenroy is. Kenroy. Who's Kenroy? I know Kenroy. I know that name. Kenroy. Gavin, older brother? No, he's the worst. Shark? Oh, no, no. Shark unalive somebody. Sharky, you talking about Sharky. That's why I was like Kenroy. Yeah, Sharky unalive somebody, but Sharky Nah. I used to bully Sharky. I wouldn't have been able to bully Gavin. they're not they're not the same. No. Sharky had unalived somebody too though. But Gavin was us. Yeah, that's his real name. I knew the name. I'm like Kenroy because there's not too many people named that. I just couldn't remember who that was. But yeah, no. Gavin calls itself Shark now. Kenroy is Sharky. Sharky. Gavin took his name. Gavin is the worst, one of the worst human beings produced in that neighborhood. And a lot of killers came from that neighborhood. I'm waiting for your question, Carla. A lot of killers came from that neighborhood. And Gavin is the worst I've ever seen. He unalived five, six people that I know of. He unalived six people that I know of. And outside of the six people that I know he unalived, he was also taking murders for hire. And people were paying him to unalive people. So imagine the six that I know of, and I heard at least two other times somebody paid him to do some stuff. So that's at least eight people right there that he unalived. And he was only 18 when they put handcuffs on him. He lived to unalive people. That was his high. That's what he wanted to do. He found enjoyment in that. The same way some people find enjoyment in money, some people find enjoyment in a new car or, a bagging a chick or getting women. In the streets, there's different people live for certain things, right? It's rare. Most people never even meet one. I've met maybe about three. I know three people in my life that they found enjoyment in unaliving people, and he was the worst. He was the worst. He was the worst. Do they have any programs in or out that actually help reform our young men? They do, but they don't. They have programs that help reform, but it depends on what kind of reform it is. Do they have programs that help them get job skills? Yeah. Do they have programs to help them get off of drugs? Yeah. But I used to say this all the time in prison, Carla. In prison, they have anger management. In prison, they have Alcohol Anonymous. In prison, they have NA, Narcotics Anonymous. So they got things to get you off of alcohol and drugs, and they got programs to get you jobs. But what I always said is they don't have no drug dealer anonymous. Where's the class to get people that's addicted to the lifestyle to not want to be in the lifestyle? Now, are there programs here and there? I'm sure there is. It's America. So, of course, in Chicago or in New York, there might be some programs where people are having think tanks about, doing different things, but overall, no, they don't. They do not. And that's why I'm on here because I actually want to teach to the youth, to people getting out of prison like myself. I'm being honest. There was a time from the first time I've been to prison over a year, six times. Yes, I've been to prison and did over a year, six times. Six. And as I expressed here on this live numerous times, I was one of those persons where the moment I got out of prison, every single time, because I was from New York and because I've been going to Connecticut, out to Connecticut since a child, back and forth, because I had family. Every time I got out of prison, there was always somebody willing to give me 20s and 30,000 dollars in drugs. Every single time. Every time I got out of prison, there was always somebody willing to give me a whole bunch of drugs. 20s and 30s and 50s of thousands of dollars worth of drugs the minute I got out of prison because they knew that I was going to bring it to Connecticut or bring it to Pennsylvania or put it on my block in New York. And every time I got out of prison, I took those drugs. But if hypothetically speaking, if I could have got out of prison and I wasn't looking to do it either, so I'm not gonna just blame the system, but I'm gonna be honest. If I would have got out of prison the first time and somebody said, "Hey, I got a job where you can make 20, well, this is the 90s, $25 an hour would have been a lot." Because I was making like $16 an hour cooking, and that was good money in the 90s. A lot of money. It was a lot. because I was getting like I was working so much overtime. I was making like $600 a week in the '90s. Y'all know that was a lot of money in the '90s, and I was cooking, but I was working. I would do like 2 16-hour days back to back. But I say that to say this: if somebody would have said, "Hey, I'm gonna show you how to be a carpenter. I'm gonna show you how to cook and what?" It was a restaurant out in Connecticut called the Ground Round, and I knew how to cook, so I was like like a chef basically, but I didn't have no chefing experience. He just put me in the kitchen. He seen I knew how to work from the grill all the way to the fryer. I could work the grill, the fryer. I could do everything in that kitchen, prep, cook, everything. You know what I'm saying? So I was making 16. Everybody else was making like $12. He gave me 16. I don't know why Ground Round was paying people that much, but Ground Round, it don't exist no more. But Ground Round is like Chili's, TGI Friday, Chili's. Um, it was that type of restaurant where it got a multitude of stuff. But it was really a steakhouse though. It had a lot of steak. So hold on though. Let me Chicky from Southern Boulevard. What about Chicky from Southern Boulevard? Hold on, let me try to get some of the questions. Let me see. I'm from Castle Hill, South Bronx niggas is different. Do they have any programs? All right, I seen that. Chinky from Southern Boulevard. I heard it. I heard of Chicky from Southern Boulevard. I knew them for when they were younger. Imagine Gavin turning out like that. Hold on. I used to watch a show called Very Scary People. That dude you mentioned sounds like one of them. Yeah, the guy I was mentioning, yeah, Gavin, he had a lot of spiritual attachments. Like he wanted to unalive people. He was ultra violent. We had got into an altercation in the strip club one time. We fighting some other guys in the strip club. We just got into a fight. I don't remember what happened, but I was a street nigga too. So my boys fighting, I'm fighting. I don't even remember what happened. I really don't. We probably started it. I don't even remember. But anyway, we got in an altercation with guys, and we used to sneak guns into the strip club. And we always used to go buy razors. Whenever we went out, we'd all go buy razors, and we would have razors, and if we could get the gun in, we could get the gun in. But if we couldn't get the gun in, we was gonna at least sneak razors into this event. So we in the strip club, we get into it with some guys from wherever. So we all in there fighting. And after we was separated from the guys we was fighting or whatever, he started cutting the strippers. Like there were strippers trying to break it up. So if he saw a stripper like grabbing one of my mans, he'll come behind the stripper and he'll cut the stripper on her face. If there was a stripper talking, like the stripper was with the other guys, like saying, cursing at us, or he seen her cursing, he'll knock the stripper out. And when she fell, he went over the stripper and started cutting her face. And Lord forgive me, like I couldn't even imagine seeing. He said he cut at least 3 strippers this night. And I'm talking about real cut with a razor on their faces. For real. And I'm grabbing him. And he's like a dog. You ever see a dog on a leash? He's dragging me and I'm grabbing him. And as I'm grabbing him, he's either knocking the strippers out or cutting them. And I'm trying to get the razor out of his hand. And when we get outside, I'm like, yo, what's wrong with you? Why did you do that? And he was like, either they with us or they against us. I can't make this shit up. And these is women, pretty women. They in there stripping, not saying they deserve it or nothing, but they stripping, trying to get money, trying to, put themselves through college, whatever. They in there trying to make a living, however they making it. And he was the spirit of anger and death. Them spirits that's on his brother wanted blood so bad that he was cutting these strippers and knocking them out. And I'm telling you, when I finally grabbed him, it's because he knocked one stripper out, and while she was on the ground, he stood over and was cutting this girl's face repeatedly, like if she unalived his mother or she did something so hard wrong to him. And all she probably was doing was cursing out somebody, making it look like she was defending the guys we were fighting against. And this is the type of individual. And A lot of the people in my neighborhood, this is their legend. He's an idol. He's in the gang world. Gavin, I'm talking about. He's one of the. He's like the Michael Jordan or the not Michael Jordan, but like the LeBron James of his era of gangbanging. So a lot of people from the neighborhood was upset that I told the feds about a lot of the things that he's done. But this is not the type of human being you want in the streets. There's not many people, and I was around him every day. He probably had more love, well, his way of loving, right? Because it ain't real love, but he probably had more respect and love and respect for me than anybody else from that neighborhood. And I'm going to say that. There's people that believe that they had control over him and believe that there's a guy who not introduced us, because I known him his whole life. He was younger than me. But when I came home, he was hanging around some individuals who actually was the first individuals that had me shooting my gun off. This guy, he's like a year or two older than me. He was a manipulator, and he manipulated me. And one time when I was younger, he had me shooting off my gun too. So when I came home, he had him up under him. So I'm saying that to say, even him, this kid had probably more respect for me than he had for anybody in that neighborhood. And I'm saying that to say what I'm about to say. He's not the type of person anybody wanted free, because in an instant he could get upset with you or be mad at you for the smallest thing, and he was going to unalive you. He wasn't going to punch you. He wasn't going to slap you. He wasn't going to curse you out. He was going to unalive you. He unalive. I used to be angry and violent too. If I got into it with somebody from the neighborhood, I probably would punch him in the face. That was my thing. I get mad, I just punch him in the face, right? The way I would punch somebody in the face is how he would blow your head off. He's not the type of person any one of those people will want free, because he would unalive you for next to nothing. For next to nothing. A stone cold monster. Oh, they was on Grant Ave before they moved the Weeks? Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah. That's the type of person he was. You know what I'm saying? And at the time I wasn't spiritual when I was running around with him, but I saw the demons on him. He'll unalive somebody, and you come in the house, you heard somebody just got unalived on Davidson, or somebody got unalived down the block, and you come in there and he'll be playing the video game like nothing ain't happened. And we'll be talking about it, and he'll make you know that he did it. And he'll be like, "Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, they picked his brain up yet?" And he'll just keep playing the game as if nothing happened. Like he there was nobody home. And before, when he first got arrested, I used to go see him. I would go visit him, right? Because I was still in the street. I was, and yeah. So when he first got arrested, I would still go see him, and he was my little man before he went to prison. He went to prison, and because he liked violence, he shot to the ranks of the gang. He became one of the most known gangbangers in the New York prison system. One of the most known, because of like what I just said, with him cutting the strippers and stuff like that. So somebody who's that violent, when you go to a place like Rikers Island and you're able to cut strippers and innocent people, and you love to enact violence, when somebody like that goes to Rikers Island, what do you think? You know what I mean? It's like Michael Jordan going to the NBA, or it's like Kobe Bryant going from high school to the NBA. He's somewhere doing something that comes natural to him. Violence is natural to him. So when he went to Rikers Island, I'm gonna get off the subject real quick, but I'm just, for the people who know him, and then just to give y'all a rough draft to even correlate it to spiritually. Um, Even from the day he got arrested, I had a homeboys that was in jail already. They was already in jail, and they called my phone. He was only in jail like 2, 3 days, and somebody else called my phone from jail, and they was like, "Yo, is he locked up?" I was like, "Yeah, why? You know?" He's like, "Nah, I just heard somebody just cut 2 people and a CO. They cut 3 people over there, and this dude didn't even know it was him, but he just said it sounded like him." That's the type of person he was. I'm not making this up. My man called me, was like, "Yo, is Gav locked up?" I said, yeah, he got locked up like 3 days ago. He was like, I knew it. I knew it. I knew it was him. I knew he was in the building. That's what they say when you in the building. That means you on Rikers Island and you making noise. Like you coming in, letting people know you in the building. That's what they say, right? So he was like, yo, I knew he was in the building. I was like, wow, what's up? What happened? He's like, yes, somebody just cut 2 people and the CO over the phone. I knew it was him. I'm like, yeah, he got locked up. That's him. So when I was in the gang, I still went to go see him. And when I went to go visit him, all he wanted to talk about was unaliving people. I was going to see him, brought him some money, and was going to visit him, making sure he was all right. And every time I sat down on the visit, the main thing he wanted to talk about was to connect me with somebody, some people to unalive the witnesses in his case, to unalive the people he didn't like. He just wanted people to be unalive. These are not the people you want in your community. These are not the people, if you have children, whether they 12 years old or they 32 years old, and they're outside, you don't want them outside in the community with somebody like this. You don't, because you're gonna hear gunshots every night. You don't want this type of person in your community. You don't, because you got to worry about somebody in your family offending him or somebody that he fucks with, and it's gonna lead to death. It's not gonna be a fight. It's not gonna be an argument. Somebody's gonna get murdered. There's only one way. There's only one thing that he want to do, and that's the only way. The only way is not gonna be that as if he's in jail, he don't got a gun, or he in the strip club and he don't got a gun. But if he has a gun, somebody's gonna get unalive. No ifs and buts about it. And it took me when I became spiritual and I had my spiritual awakening and I was shown what was wrong with me. And I began to realize what was wrong with me was the only time I began to recognize what I saw in him. It's the only time. And what I saw in others like him. We got Marley G, G Monster. G Monster killed a couple of people from the neighborhood, somebody I grew up with. You know what I'm saying? Till he got unalive. He killed unalive so many people. When he got unalive, we didn't know who unalived him because he had did so many unaliving. Then we got James, then we got Brooklyn, we got Clarence. There's a couple of people that I knew that was killers from that neighborhood, but he was by far the worst because that's all he wanted to do. That's all he wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? That's how he fed his demons. It wasn't money, it wasn't chasing women, it wasn't none of that. his demons were a little different. Yeah, he had a child. When he got locked up, the baby wasn't even 1 yet. So that child may be 20 now. He's been in about 20 years. '06. It's 2026. No, that's not 20. That's yeah, it is 20. Yeah. Yeah, 2006. And it's 2026. Yeah, 20 years. So that child is like 19 going on 20. He had a child. He had one child. He must have very traumatic, violent upbringing. No, no, he didn't. He didn't. What's good, Tommy? No, he didn't. Um, that's another thing. Well, I was nothing like I can't. I'm not going to compare myself to him because I was nothing like that. I always had empathy. I had spiritual attachments. I did a lot of violent shit. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I was, always the person I am today. I was violent too. I was extremely violent too. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm gonna say is, a person don't always have to have the worst upbringings to be that way. Sometimes they may have had something traumatic happen in their life when the spirit attached itself to that person, and then they may have had a normal life the rest of the way. But once that spirit became attached to that human being, there's no turning that back. You just don't wake up tomorrow and say, I'm not a violent person. You don't wake up tomorrow and say, oh, especially if you don't know you have a spiritual attachment. You don't wake up and say, spirit be gone from me. You have to have a spiritual awakening. You have to. You have to find Jesus Christ. You have to find Buddha, Jehovah, Allah. You have to find the God of your understanding, and you have to raise your vibrations to shake those spiritual attachments, to shake those demons, to cut off the entity and the energy that you're feeding. You just don't do that. That's not a conscious decision. And I compare it to a person who molests children and who, who likes to sexually assault women, right? You can't change those people. Those people can't make a decide that they want to change and, oh, I'm not gonna do that no more. You can never trust a man who has done that to a child. He just because he said, when you speak to him, I have to, if my discernment don't see the spirit on him, if it don't see it, let's just say it sneak past my eye test, I'm gonna ask him, well, what happened? And when he starts to say, well, if he don't say he's a devout Christian, if I can't hear that he's a devout Christian, or if I can't hear that he took his shahada and he's on his deen, if I can't hear that he has some form of spiritual awakening, so I can know that he disattached that entity from him, then he's gonna do that again. He's gonna do that again. And people like that, like the brother that I was speaking of, no, he didn't have his life wasn't that bad from what I could see from the outside, but I don't know what went on in his house, because all three of his brothers are all in jail for murder. The sister who says they knew him, who was that? Uh, uh, Taboo Hampton. Yeah, like that says she grew up with them on Grant. Yeah, yeah, they all three of his brothers is in jail for unaliving somebody. So who knows what was going on in that house? They was Jamaican. Maybe their parents was into some form of witchcraft. It's probably the culprit. It's probably the culprit. A lot of Jamaicans are stern parents. Jamaicans, I grew up around a bunch of Jamaicans. I basically lived in Jamaican households, you could say. You know what I'm saying? Peace, peace, peace. A lot of Jamaicans are stern, disciplined. They're real disciplined. Oh, I apologize, bro. I apologize. My bad. Well, yeah. So all three of them is in jail. Gavin, Sharky, and Andrew. All three brothers. They're three brothers. Their mother had three boys and one girl. All three of the boys is in prison for murders. All three of them. You know what I'm saying? And so more than and they had a sister. Yeah, they're all in jail for murder. And maybe their parents was into Obia. They Jamaicans. Maybe they was into Obia. Maybe that's how the spirit attached itself to them. Maybe from their parents being disciplinaries. Not saying, oh, I don't want to, put everybody in the box, but a lot of Jamaican men, they beat on their women. Like a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them. Over there in that island, they're okay with that. Like islanders put their hands on their women. So maybe it could have been the dad putting their hands on them, putting their hands on their mom. I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just giving a scenario. You know what I'm saying? And maybe that's where the spirit came from. You know what I'm saying? And it attached itself to all of them. And maybe him being a younger, or whatever, I don't know, but he had a triple dose or whatever the other two had. He had a triple dose of it. Okay, in Spofford, yeah, they need it. Last I seen Shark was in the Roomba. We was there in the weekend. We was in there every weekend. Okay, yeah, I remember. Yeah, yeah, you talking about Sharky? Yeah, yeah, the Roomba. I was there. We was there every weekend. He was there with us. He's actually Sharky. I gave a story about Sharky. We was running around with Capone and Noriega, and the MU dudes had beat Sharky up. And when they beat Sharky up, because they knew Sharky was from our block, they stopped hanging with us because but Sharky wasn't hanging with us. But once they found out he was from 240, they stopped hanging with us because they thought we was gonna feel some kind of way behind it. The gangs, the Bloods, the Crips be doing witchcraft, homie. Yeah, yeah, they do. They do. Unknowingly and knowingly they do witchcraft. Some of the leaders are into witchcraft. I was around Ty Guns, the godfather of the Stone. And okay, you seen him a week after they jumped him. All right, so I know what I'm talking about. Yep, yep. Yeah, he had got so they jumped him, they beat him up. He came up the block. He went and got this big old Uzi. He was so drunk and so high. we was on the corner. We didn't go that weekend, and he came up the block. He had this big old Uzi, and he was walking back to the room. But he was so drunk. He used to take E pills. He was on E pills and so drunk that he didn't even remember. And he handed the gun. They took the gun from him, and he went back home. And then he never remembered who he gave the gun to, and we kept the gun. That's how grimy everybody was back then. But yeah, Sharky, they all locked up though. Ty Gunn's my family. I already know that's my cousin on my pop side. Well, yeah, Tommy Guns. Yeah, Ty Guns. I was locked up with Ty Guns. Ty Guns is in the witchcraft. He's in the witchcraft, you know what I'm saying? And once he knew what I was on and we had spiritual talks and he kind of came out, the spirit was forced to show itself and it showed me that he was in the witchcraft. I know a Crip gang leader that was in the witchcraft. And I say that to say, willingly and knowingly and unknowingly, the gang is actually witchcraft. Gangs are witchcraft. Like, if I don't know if you're new to this live, but I always tell brothers, these are conversations I like to have because I always want to speak to the brothers who are still active or still in the street life to show you, first of all, oath, prayers, and pledges. Those things, when you start the bees, yes, the bees, we go get the bees from the Botanica, right? So when you have an oath, a prayer, and a pledge, right? First of all, an oath is something you take to pledge your allegiance to your particular. It's not even just a gang. They got pledges in sororities. They got pledges in secret societies. They have pledges in some of these religious cults. Anytime you're doing something spiritual, you have to take a pledge. Whenever you're doing something of significance, you have to take a pledge or oath. Same thing. Just like a doctor, lawyers, police, they take oaths. They take an oath. It's an oath of office. And the reason why lawyers and doctors and these people, anytime you have a significant role or a significant job down here in this third dimension, they give you these oaths and these pledges because it has to transform you into a doctor. You have to take the Hippocratical oath. You have to. Once you take that oath, that is saying that I am going to abide by the rules and regulations. They make you swear to it. And once you swear to something, you give a piece of your spirit by swearing to it. You give a piece of your spirit by signing these documents. You give a piece of your spirit. So when a president is sworn in, he's sworn in into an oath. When you go into court, you swear on a Bible, you take an oath, a pledge. You have to do these things because it becomes a spiritual bind. So when these gangs give us these prayers, pledges, and oaths, spiritually, we're giving a piece of our spirit to the gang. When I became blood, they used to give you a new name. They don't really do it this much these days, but in the 90s, when you became blood, they gave you a whole new name. You had to be somebody to stay Bloody Bucks. I wasn't Bucks or Chuck. My name is Chuck, so they call me Buck. Change the B to a C, so they would call me Buck, and I'd be like, "Well, I'm gonna be Bucks." I didn't want to be Buck. I'd rather be Bucks. I wanted to be multiple, Bucks, not a Buck, right? So anyway, I was called Bloody Drama. When I became G Shine, my blood name, I was Bloody Drama. Horrible name. So I'm Bloody Drama. What the hell type of name is that? What am I calling into my spirit? So when I take an oath, let me just think of an oath. What is it? Being blood ain't a part-time thing, it's a full-time job. It's about being around when it's time to get down, killing without caring, committing whatever and not getting caught, love for your set, hate for your enemies. That type of shit is demonic in his nature. And they got worse than that. That was the good one. There was one where I take a blood oath, blood in, blood out. Like, you start taking these blood oaths, prayers, and pledges, right? You change your name, you put on those Botanica beads, right? You go inside the voodoo store, you take on these Botanica beads, and you put on these beads that are venerated for Chango and Ogun and all these entities that we don't even know about, because I didn't know about. I mean, I did, but I didn't know that. And then you put those beads on, and then you take an oath, then you take a prayer, then you take a pledge, then you change your name. to bloody drama or bloody bucks, right? Or if your name is Ty, now you Ty Hound. Or your name is Jimmy, now you uh, Jimmy Rilla or Bugatti, Jimmy Bugatti. So now you taking on the gang and attaching it to your name. It changes who you are. It opens up your spirit. And then you throw it up, right? You throw it up these handshakes, not knowing these handshakes is energetic. We could call it 666 if we want. But if you also count, as you know, when Muslims count on their thicker beads, or you see the Buddha, the Dalai Lama or the Buddha, and you see them in that stance and they're doing this on their hand, is because people use their digits to count on their thicker beads in their prayers and their meditations. So a lot of these signs and symbols that we use our hands to do, all these signs and these signs and these symbols are energetic. Symbols hold energy. So we're holding on the energy of the symbols that we're placing over our heart as we throw it up with our homies and then put it over our heart. So now we're pledging and then we're putting it over our heart. That's why when you raise your hand in court, it say swear in the Bible, and it say raise your right hand, and you raise your right hand and you say I solemnly swear. So this is what we're doing. It's saying I solemnly swear to be a gangster killer blood, and I'm bloody drama and love for my set, hate for my enemies, killing without caring, and all of this other shit. I'm reprogramming my mind. I'm reprogramming my mind. And now I represent the 5-point star. And my enemy is the 6-point star. Now I'm repping red and I'm going against those who rep blue. So now I'm taking on a color-coded vibration, which is red is the lowest color-coded vibration in the color spectrum, right? So now I'm stuck in my first chakra, right? Now I'm repping the 5-point star, which is a pentagram, right? And a pentagram is another symbol that brings in energy. So now and blood is what? In the Bible, when it talks about anything, even the blood of Christ, blood is sacred, right? Because even in the first murder that happened in the Bible was what? When Cain slew his brother Abel, what did God, if you believe that that's God, what did that entity say to Cain? It says, your brother's blood cries to me from the grave. He said his blood cries to me. So Jesus was sacrificed and the blood of Christ covers us. When you have a burnt offering, when they gave offering and sacrifices, even in witchcraft and voodoo, what is the most thing that you can venerate, give to a spirit to venerate that spirit? Blood. Blood is the most sacred thing you can give to an entity and energy. So not only are we calling ourselves blood, but we're shedding blood. This is what we're doing. So we're taking these blood oaths and we're shedding. I'm not even, it's gonna be Crip, GD, Vice Lord, or whatever. Whenever you go put in work for the gang and you shed blood, you're shedding blood for those entities and those energies. So you become possessed with the spirit of the apes, the Max, the Hounds, the non-trade, GKB, Vice Lord, conservative Vice Lord, traveling Vice Lord, BD, GD. And a lot of these leaders, a lot of them don't know, but a lot of them are possessed. A lot of them. OG Mac has spirits attached to him. I met him personally. I was around him every day. And what I saw in his eyes, I didn't realize what I saw in his eye. I looked at it as fear. It was fear because a lot of spirits are scared. Don't mean people think, all violent people are just violent, that a violent person ain't scared. Most violent people are scared. Most violent people are scared little boys. And sometimes you can see it when the spirit is not there, when that entity is not in full control of that person, you see the weak, scared little boy in their eyes. That's the fear you see. You only gonna see two things. You're gonna see fear or you ain't gonna see nothing. You're not gonna see joy, you're not gonna see happiness, you're not gonna see compassion, you're not gonna see empathy. You're gonna see fear or you're gonna see nothing. And when that demon is attached to that person, the demon that wants blood, you're gonna see nothing because that's who's in control. That's who's in behind those windows, right? That's what you see. But when you see fear, the fear is that spirit that attached itself to that little boy. And sometimes that little boy is present, and then you look in the eyes and you see fear. And then the minute he realizes you see it or he think you can see it, he gonna do some violent shit to throw you off, or he gonna do some violent shit to keep his name going or his reputation going. I was that little boy. I was that. I was that. I'm not ignoring y'all comments. Sometimes I start going in, so I miss things. I don't knock you, homie. You did what you had to do. Ain't no loyalty in the game. It's CIs and these gangs telling. That is a fact. Bloody Nova was mine. That was in '08. Jesus died on the cross for our sins and rose in 3 days, saving us from hell. If you repent from your sins and believe he died for your sins, God will raise him from the dead and make him our Lord and Savior. Amen, amen, and amen. My cousin was done with the blood shit. He was on good timing. Hold on. It was supposed to be brotherly love over oppression and destruction. And yes, but you see, what the devil has to do, the devil got to always dress it up and make things look good, right? If the devil was once an angel, so that means the devil was of righteousness. So the devil always going to come as righteousness is something positive. Every black gang that was founded in the United States of America, every last one of them was founded on the principles of doing something right. All of them was founded on righteousness and doing something right. But in the process, they all went left. Every last one of them. And what we don't realize down here is now I'm gonna get conspiracy on y'all, right? Whether you believe it's the white man, which is not, but if you believe it's the white man or the government, I hope y'all can hear me because I unplugged the microphone. I had to charge my phone. Let me know y'all can still hear me. But whether you believe it's the white man or not, we was given these gangs and all of these gang leaders, whether it's David Barksdale, whether it's Hoover, you know what I'm saying, uh Raymond Washington, Tukey Williams, the list goes on and on and on and on. All of these founders was given an insight to create what they created because these entities and energies knew that whether these gangs were created in the 60s, the 70s, the 50s, whenever they were created, they knew the stronghold or the hold these gangs were going to have on the African American or the FBAs, whatever you want to call us here. They knew it was going to have control and hold on us for 50, 60, and 70 years. They knew that. They knew that. They knew how to break us and to keep us divided. And a lot of these gang members was given this insight from spirits. When you study the Vice Lords and the GDs, the Crips and the Bloods is a little different. The Crips and the Bloods is a little different. A lot of they was only really given, the colors, and they went by the colors for whatever reason. They didn't understand that, but they camaraderie was around colors, and they bang like that. But when you get into Chicago and New York, right? I'm not being funny because Chicago and New York people are a little faster than California people. I'm not being funny, but it's the truth. California people they're more hands-on. They have a lot of soul, they have a lot of spirit in California. I'll get into the whole, Lemurian thing and the whole Atlantis thing, like the East and the West Coast, because there's different vibrations on this planet, right? So the East and the West Coast has a different vibration. So if New York is considered the boss of the East, and Cali and LA is considered the boss of the West, and then you have Chicago in the middle, right? These are the three main places that has disseminated this death and destruction that we call gang violence throughout America. So California is a little different. They're a little more hands-on than paperwork wise. They're a little more rebellious. They have a strong Lemurian rebellious spirit over there. So they didn't need paperwork indoctrination. They didn't need to be smart and super articulate to indoctrinate their people. They were more action driven. So their leaders were super violent and super tough, and they were super violent and super tough. So a lot of people follow Tukey. A lot of people follow Raymond and people like that, right? Chicago It's like New York, where they're thinkers. They vibrate a little different. That part of the country vibrates a little different. So their leaders had to be thinkers. So their leaders took a lot of the rhetoric, like the Black Panthers, and they structured their gang around laws, bylaws. It was appealing. So when they wrote up their manifestos, a lot of their manifestos and a lot of things that they wrote, the 21 Stones and all of that, it was spiritual. If you read, a lot of Vice Lord and GD's paperwork, you'll think you're reading some Masonic shit. You'll think you're reading some 5% Nation stuff. You'll think you'll be reading some, Nations of the Gods on the Earth, or the NOI, the Nation of Islam. They stuff was formatted. So those signs and symbols and those pyramids and those signs and the words that they were using and the indoctrination all the way up to King David and the 6-point star and all of these things, they basically perverted a lot of esoteric knowledge and pushed a lot of occult knowledge into their doctrine and their paperwork. So when OG Mac structured and Deadeyes structured New York City, he took a lot of their shit. He took the Blood and Crip from California, because we needed double indoctrination. He took the blood from California, but the way he put together his paperwork, because he knew that New York niggas is thinkers. New York niggas already was indoctrinated by the 5% doctrine and the paperwork. He knew that he had to stimulate the brothers mentally. So he took the Chicago structure and put the Chicago structure behind the Bloods. That's why we went by the 5-point star. This is why we had oaths, prayers, and pledges when California didn't even have that kind of shit. You know what I mean? When I went to the feds and I was in the penitentiary at 21 years old, and I'm in Leavenworth, and I'm surrounded by niggas from Crenshaw and niggas from Watts and niggas, the bounty hunters, and all of these California niggas, and I'm sitting around because I know all the New York shit by heart. So when I'm sitting around with these brothers and they telling me they don't go by no 5-point star, they don't have no prayers and no pledges. Some of them didn't even know who started Blood. I'm keeping it real with you, man. I done asked some of them, like, yo, but who started Blood? They be like, Blood, man, I'm from 104 Crenshaw Mafia, Blood. I don't know none of that shit, Blood. Oh, I'm from Athens Park, Blood. I know Big Bone. I'm from under Big Bone, Little Bone, my big bro, Blood. I don't know all that shit, Blood. I just be like, man, but you don't know who started Blood. Well, what year it started? I'm trying to get to the schematics of this shit. I'm being real with you. I'm speaking Swahili. I'm like, yo, Blood, all Bloods no Swahili. I'm like, man, Blood, I don't know that shit, Blood. Fuck you talking about Swahili, Blood. We don't speak no Swahili, Blood. Only ones was like the big homies, like Big Bone, and them would sit down and be like, well, you know, Damu, well, you right, we did know Swahili. Like the older homies, them niggas knew Swahili, but the niggas that was my age, or they knew why they knew Swahili, because they was like, well, the Swans and certain of the they knew Swahili, and I learned Swahili because I was in the UBN when I was in Folsom, so I know some shit. Some of them knew, but the majority of them niggas, they ain't know shit. They ain't know who started Blood. They ain't know when Blood started. Only thing they knew was where they was from and who was who's the who, whether they was from Athens Park or Crenshaw or wherever they was from. They knew the history of where they was from. Everything outside of that shit was irrelevant. And I'm telling you, my son, my son Dre, he was from 104 Crenshaw Mafia, I believe. He was like, Blood, y'all made banging complicated, Blood. Don't nobody know all that shit, Blood. You making gang banging complicated, Blood. Fuck, I'm old from prayer. Yo, Blood, you heard what Blood say? He said, man, they gotta remember some shit, Blood. Man, I ain't Blood, man. I don't know that shit, Blood. But Mac took the Chicago way of teaching things. You know what I'm saying? And he mixed it in with that. But I say all that to say there's a lot of signs and symbols and ritualistic shit in our doctrine. It is. And when you become praying and meditating, when you ask the Most High for discernment and you start vibrating from love and light, you be able to see the spirits on people. I tell people all the time on here, when I was Blood, I used to could be in a unit and I could tell by the way a person walked in, I knew he was Blood. It's just the way you move. It's the way you buy. Before he opened his mouth, he didn't have to have no beads on. He didn't have to have his right pant leg up. He didn't have to have nothing in his back right pocket. I could just tell, and I was never wrong. A nigga could walk in a unit just how he bopping. I'm like, oh, he Blood. I'd be like, "What's poppin'? Who's banging, blood? Who I'm talking to?" Automatically, I just knew. I could just see because it's a spirit. It's a spirit. It's kind of like the movie The Fallen with Denzel Washington. It's like the movie The Fallen. When he touched, that spirit touched another person, it walked like the spirit. It might be a whole different person, but they walk the same, they like the same, they talk the same, they move the same, they look the same. It's a spirit. Does it turn everybody into a killer? No, it doesn't. Does it turn everybody into somebody who put in work? No, it doesn't. It's just a spirit. It's something to keep you stuck on that vibration. It's something to keep you stuck in that mind frame. Doesn't mean you a killer, doesn't mean you tough. It doesn't mean it makes you, but it does make you other than yourself. It does, right? And even if you never, you're not one of them that turn to killing and shooting your gun off or whatever, you further from God. You further from Christ. You further from loving yourself and healing yourself. You're further from being a father or a husband or anything that you're supposed to be. And no matter how much we try to say that, you know, oh, there's no more love and no more loyalty, there's never really been love and loyalty in gangbanging. For real. Not in New York City. Maybe in Chicago and LA, somewhere where they've been doing it, but not so much either. But in the East Coast, in New York, there's never been loyalty. Never. Now, what you might consider loyalty is we both gang because this is the loyalty they had, right? I give the homies this in New York. I'm gang. I get cut in Full Main, so the homies is living with the niggas in two upper. So then they if I got cut by the Pathias, they gonna pop off from the Pathias they around. If I got cut by this a Crip, then they got beef with that Crip. If I'm Mac and an ape clap me, then that started war between the Macs and the ape. Oh, the Mac got cut, so now they beefing with the ape. So yeah, violence begot violence. That kind of loyalty. But when a homie goes to jail, let's just say I'm not bragging or making it seem cool or nothing, but if y'all in the gang and the brother goes to jail for, you know, man, I got so many. I don't even want to get into it, y'all. But I seen some of the worstest shit. There's no loyalty in that shit. Cause I was one of the niggas that when you got locked up, I was making sure your kids got up 5 hours to go see you, that they got a bus ticket to go 5 hours to see you. I was the one who put them gifts under your Christmas tree because you was a part of my gang and I felt like you represented me. So if your baby mother walked by us every day on the corner and you got 7 years up north or 15 years up north, I felt funny if she walking by and your son saying he want Chinese food and she's saying we can't afford it. I'm gonna go buy the Chinese food because I'ma think how she's feeling. I'ma think she like all these niggas on the corner supposed to be his homie, but I don't even got no food in my refrigerator, or I don't even got no couch, or my kids don't got no coat for Christmas. You understand what I'm saying? I was one of them niggas, and I'm not trying to make it seem because I did bad. So y'all say right, but I was always one of those niggas that felt like you represented me. So I didn't want to look bad, and I'm not saying it was all super duper like some super loyal shit, but it was just like what it really is. If you represent me, I represent you. So if you look bad, I look bad. I don't want you to look bad, so I'm gonna do things that I feel that you would do or you need done in your absence. That's just how I was. Like I'm not gonna act like it came from a total loyal standpoint, but it came from the point of it make us look bad. We look bad if you look bad. You understand what I'm saying? I was the guy you could call from jail if your baby mother was getting harassed and you needed the mailman beat up. I'm gonna go beat the mailman up because you were part of me. And I felt disrespected that he thought he could do that and get away with it. So again, I'm not gonna act like it was super loyal, but it was like I represent you, you represent me. That's kind of why I had the power to make people blood, but I only made 4 people blood. And I had people, like, yo, why don't you bring them home, make them blood, turn all of them blood, turn all of them blood. The reason why I didn't, because the 4 people that I made blood, I felt responsible for. I didn't want the responsibility because if I had 100 people under me, then that means that's 100 people that I'm trying to take care of and make sure they all right. And it was too much of a responsibility for me. But still, there's no fucking loyalty in it. It's not. We might get busted and they don't tell on me. But once I go to prison, I go to prison. You think somebody gonna bring my child 8 hours up north? No. If my baby moms went to the corner and say, could y'all scrape up $200 so she could get Christmas gifts? You think it would have happened? No. You know what they was gonna do? The nigga who gave her money, oh, so and so see me, he gave me money. Oh, so and so see me, he gave me money. So and so see me, gave me money. About the fourth or fifth time, so and so gave her money. Guess what she gonna say on the seventh time? Oh, he asked me, could I go out? Or be like, yo, did so and so give you money? No. Well, you seen him? Yeah, I don't. What's going on? So he tried to take out. He tried his hand. He gave us so much money that finally he trying to hit that thing. Yo, what's up? Let me take you out. That's what goes on. That's what goes on. There's no honor amongst thieves. So I don't be understanding why people be so surprised or so upset. Because if you're neck and neck with somebody and y'all running the streets every day, chasing skirts all day, every day, right? Y'all both got women and families at home, but y'all chasing skirts every day. Why are you gonna be surprised when he tries your baby mother? Why? If y'all seen somebody having money and y'all went and kicked in his door, tied him up and his baby mama up, all the kids up in the house for the money, and I'm sitting there pistol whipping him and putting a pew pew to his baby mother head, telling her to give up the money. But then we get arrested for something 5 years down the road, and I tell you like, oh, he did bad. Oh, that nigga, he ain't right. I wasn't right when we did what we did. We wasn't right running up in them people's house, tying everybody up. We wasn't right doing that. We wasn't right because we wanted this dude corner, so we sent Lil Man to go unalive him so we could put drugs on his corner. We wasn't right when we was doing that. We wasn't right when we was standing on the corner selling crack to pregnant women. We wasn't right. We never was right. Nothing we was doing was right. So because one person took the life sentence and went to jail and didn't snitch on nobody, and he stood up on his gangbanging, and now he's in the yard and he's the big homie. He got 2 life sentences and he didn't tell on nobody. He's a man. He's official. Like when they be like, yo, what's up with Shark? Oh, Shark, oh, he official. He up north, yo, bro. He the big homie. Woo, woo, he got life. Ask the question, when the last time you seen this kid? When the last time you did something for him? It's kind of changing now because social media. And what I mean by that is if you become big enough in the game, people will do for your children, because they know that you have the power to not make them gang or to give them power in the gang. So in today's society, it's changing. It kind of been like that too when I was growing up. Like all the big homies, people going to visit them. People going to give their families money. Certain people, you know what I'm saying? Like in Connecticut, I was that person. In Connecticut, I be getting letters from dudes trying to hook me up with their sisters, trying to hook me up with their mothers, because they felt like, okay, well, Bucks is from the Bronx. He was running around with OG Mac, or he be with Dipset. If he stamp me or he give me all the new information, then that's gonna give me power where I'm from because I'm stamped. I can say I got somebody that's from up there. So they used to bend over backwards to make sure I had the shit that I needed, the ones who were smart enough to figure out how to get in with the gang or to get certain status or certain information, right? So don't get me wrong, there are people who do for people. You know what I'm saying? Like I knew when I was home, like in 2016, Shark and Kimi and them, they had kitties. They had 30, 40, 50, $60,000 in their kitty. They was locked up and had 50, 60,000, had access to thousands and thousands of dollars because every scammer in New York City was gonna make sure they was all right. Because when they came home, they got a chance to run around with the big homie, and the big homie validates them. You understand what I'm saying? Especially if they trying to be a next up and coming rapper. You want to be an up and coming rapper. You want to get next to, Kimi Baller. You want to get next to have Shark Baller or TV Baller, or you can run around with Nicki Minaj's husband, who's Mac Baller. You want to be able to say, Nicki Minaj's husband. You want to be able to say, Jaffe running around with 50 Cent. You want to be in good standards with the gang. If you making music or you running around getting money and you want to be, you know. So these days it's kind of changing. The more you do for the big homie, the more you get propelled in the gang, the more it stamps you so you can have your drill career or your rap career. So it's a little different now. But at the root of it all, is an opportunist. At the root of it all is somebody selfish. At the root of it all is pride and ego. It's not love. It seems like it, but it's not. You understand what I'm saying? It seems like it, but it's not. Something about red and blue colors of the American flag are the colors they were given. Yeah, red is low vibrational. You know what I'm saying? Blue is a higher vibration, but guess what blue is as well? Blue represents the fifth chakra. It is the chakra before the third eye. So even if blue is more highly vibrational than red, blue is still the fifth chakra. You have to get to your sixth chakra, which is your third eye consciousness. That's where discernment comes in. That's when you're being able to manipulate time, space, and matter. That's become your Godhead. That's when you enter into your head. The fifth chakra is supposed to be in your neck. So you're still in the physical body. You're still in the fourth dimension. You understand? You have to get up here, the head outside. You have to get above that, which is the six. And most people don't. So there's two low vibrational colors, red and blue. Blue is a little more higher than red, but it's still not these. It's still not those higher vibrational colors. Everything you're saying is how you think when you're young, but after a certain age, you think your thinking should have changed. Right, right, right. But when you're gang banging, most gangbangers, most of them, because they have the spell of the gang, because they have these oaths, prayers, pledges, they're running around with voodoo beads around their neck. They're living by a doctrine and a system that is lowly vibrational. It don't matter how old you are, you will stay stuck in that state. And it's not just gang members. You got people who are not even in gangs who are stuck in the state. You have people who venerate Cardi B and the city girl, Young Miami, and they're running around talking about spin that shit, grown, stuck, stuck in the physically, mentally, and spiritually. At least a gang member, you could say, all right, that's bad. You shouldn't be that. You shouldn't be that. You're in a gang member, you shouldn't be that. That's bad. We can know that because we all know that that's not what you should be doing, right? But what about the female version of the gang member? What about the Love and Hip Hop who takes what Cardi B say is gold and what she got going on in her and Stephon Diggs and the ones who worried about who Carisha's dating and the ones who loved and hip hopped out. They're no different from the gangbangers. It's just they're a mother and they have children and they're stuck with the child when the gangbangers up north or in the graveyard. They're stuck with the child. And while they have the child, they listening to spin that shit. And they got your little daughters and your little nieces and little grandbabies running around doing that new dance, and it's okay. You got all over social media with their hair, their nails, talking about clock it. She got nails on her hand. She don't even know how to wipe her butt yet. They don't even know how to wipe their butt properly. They already got their hair and their nails there talking about clock it. That's T. That's T. That's no different from the gangbang. You got to look at her the same way you look at the gangbanger because she's the female counterpart. She's the female counterpart. She may not want a gangbanger, but she thinks she should have a basketball player or a rapper. The only difference is she's stuck with the child, so she's physically and spiritually responsible for lives outside of her own. So her stinking thinking and the shit she puts value in now is just not about her because she's directly affecting the child. The dad, he's not there, so he's affecting it because his presence is gone, right? So you have the mother who's there all the time on the phone, gossiping, talking about a bunch of nothing. And as this baby's growing up right around the mother, while she constantly in her cell phone, talking about who going out and who doing what and what's going on, all this negative shit that has nothing to do with real life, right? As she ducking rent a center for the furniture she got, while as she making sure her nails is did every other week, or I don't know how often they do these nails now. She making sure her hair did every couple of weeks, and she looked the part. Inside, she's rotten, and she has children who are looking at her thinking that this is what life is about. She's there just as worse as the gangbanger. Everybody could point at the gangbanger and say, nope, that's something you shouldn't be. Everybody could point at the nigga in jail and be like, oh, nope, you shouldn't be in there. But what about the girl you see every day on her way to the laundromat with the $500 nails, the $500 hair done on her way to the laundromat? I hope they're not 50 years old singing that shit. They are. You think they are? You think everybody ain't young? Everybody ain't young. Everybody, I don't care if they 35. That's the problem with us too. But let me say that. That's the problem with us. We still think because mentally a 35-year-old is probably where my generation was at 17, 18, 19, 20. Just because a 35-year-old is mentally young, we still think it's okay and they still got room to grow. No, at 35, you should be making a decision to change your life. Did I at 30? I was 33 when I had my spiritual awakening. I still went back to selling heroin and crack, and I was still gangbanging. I didn't stop gangbanging at 34. At 34, after I had my spiritual awakening at 33, I got locked up at 34 and I stopped gangbanging. Nobody made me. I just stopped. I was on Rikers Island. Nobody forced me out. But once I realized that I had to make a decision, and if I remained to be the gang, the type of person that I was, I knew I was going to have to cut, stab, and catch more time to add to my name. I knew that. I hadn't been to Rikers Island. Last time I was on Rikers Island, I was 16. So to not be on Rikers Island at 16, when I was willing to put in the work to put my name up, I hadn't been back to Rikers Island until I was 34 years old. So at 34 years old, I had a brand new baby at home, right? I had a 2-year-old at home. I had a wife. I had my 2 other daughters, and I had 6 daughters. 6 little women I had to make sure was all right, and a wife. So at 34 years old, I knew that I didn't want to be in the gang no more because I knew. Before I told, I already knew that what I was willing to do and what I wasn't willing to do. And I knew I wasn't willing to catch cases and cut niggas and stab for Mac Buller Brim and add to my name and add to my legacy as everybody was expecting me to do. And I did the complete opposite. I stopped gangbanging. I let some things slide that Bucks, the gangster, would have never let slide. Because once I let that slide, and when I spoke to Harrell when I first got out of prison, and after cooperating, he knew I cooperated, he said it. But I knew that. He said, yeah, when I heard you let them take your Cartiers, I knew you was done then. I didn't tell on nobody at that point, as far as anybody knew. But he said, yeah, when I heard they got rid of when they took your Cartiers, he said, yo, tell me the story. What happened? Because when I heard that, I already knew. But it's true. Nobody took them. They fell, and the nigga picked them up and kept them. But I didn't cut them. I didn't stab them. I didn't have nobody. I gracefully bowed out because I was done then. I had made a decision then. Before I went and became the big nationally known snitch, I made a decision then. Do I go to the yard and cut them? Do I make people bring them to the church and cut them? No. When everybody wanted those people that wanted to cut him from me, yo, I'm gonna cut him. Nah, leave him alone. Why? Because I didn't want them to cut him. Because if they cut him, then his gang is going to cut me, and I'm gonna be forced to defend myself. So just let him have it. It's these same glasses. $1,500 I spent, and he walked around with the glasses on, and everybody knew it. And I let him rock because I knew I was going home in 3 months. I just was about to cop out to my time. I'm going up north, taking my number, and I know I'm going home in less than 6 months. And I let that happen. So then is when I made a decision that I didn't want to be a part of it. But guess what? I got out and started selling heroin again. I got out and started selling crack again. So I'm not gonna pretend like I was totally done and I've changed. No, no. I just knew that I didn't want to stay in jail. I just knew that I didn't want to be there. I just knew that I wasn't willing to run up a number or to put on and to continue to, disseminate the death and destruction. So I let him have the glasses, and I knew my name was gonna be shattered in the streets. But I came home, and guess what? Nobody said not one thing to me. They kept it quiet. Nobody ever said, "Yo, what happened up? No, yo, we heard what happened." Nobody never said that to me. They never mentioned it. It wasn't until I started telling that people start saying, "Yeah, oh, he been soft. That happened on Rikers Island." I've been gang banging at that point in my life. What would it have been? 20 years? And the 20 years, they never had nothing to say. In 17 years, they never had nothing to say. There was nothing they could say about me. And then that happened. And it's like, oh, there was a reason. I was done. I was tired. Well, I wasn't really done and tired because I still was selling drugs, but I knew that that wasn't for me. And I went back out there, sold drugs. They put handcuffs on me. And when I knew that I was a predicate felon, when I knew that I was a category 6 on career criminal, and I knew that I was getting 20 years or better, is when I said, oh, okay, now just like I made a decision when I let him keep my glasses because I didn't care what nobody was gonna think and say about me because I wanted to go home. The same way when they put the handcuffs on me in 2016, 8 years later. I mean, what was it? 14 or whatever, 6 years later, whatever it was, the same way. I already made my decision though. Was I should have never went back to the streets when I got out at 15. When I got out in 2015, I should have never went back to the streets. I should have never went back to selling heroin. I should have never went back to going to Pennsylvania and Connecticut to sell all that death that I was selling. I shouldn't have. I got impatient and I went right back and I got arrested. And I did what I knew I was gonna do because I knew what I wasn't gonna do, and I wasn't going to jail to do a whole bunch of time. Selfish, yes. Selfish, yes. It was no more selfish than a nigga who would have took the time and went and did it and did the 30 years or the life sentence they was gonna get me. Still the same selfishness. The only difference was my selfishness came in the form of I want to be there for my children. My aunt is old, my father's old, my mother's old, my godmother's even older. She's 94 right now. You know what I'm saying? I knew that if I went and did that bid, I kind of knew it in my spirit I wasn't gonna see a lot of them ever again. You know what I'm saying? So that's when I made the decision to do what I did. So I was selfish, but this time I was selfish not only for me, but for my family. Because if I'd have came home and got a 9 to 5 job, the people that I named wouldn't have cared. If I didn't have money or I wasn't driving a certain car or doing certain things financially, they wouldn't have cared. They was gonna love me regardless. You know what I'm saying? So I became selfish outside of what the gang would deem as selfish, and I became me selfish, not Bucks, the gangbanger or the street leader or the boss of the drug operation or the boss of the neighborhood. Nah, not that selfish nigga. I became the selfish nigga for my family. I wasn't going to do no 30, 40 years, no life sentence, broke, not able to be there when my children, when my daughter graduated high school. I came home and I caught her graduating high school, and my 15-year-old about to graduate high school. So I could say I was there for all three of my daughters graduating high school. You know what I'm saying? And get my 19-year-old to get in college and to follow her sister's footsteps to go get her master's, to be there at the time from between 17 and 21 when they're figuring things out in life, to be able to be there and give her guidance like I am, to be able to be there when she need Uber Eats or DoorDash, or be able to go pick her up like I did 2 years ago because some boy had her crying and she trapped off in the house an hour and a half away and don't know what to do, and I'm able to jump in my car and go get my baby girl. Y'all niggas is bugging. Was I wrong? Should I had felt this way when I got out in 2015 and stayed working my messenger job and never went back to PA or Connecticut to sell drugs? Yes, I should have. You're right. We could all say what I should have did, but that's not what happened. You know what I'm saying? But again, like I said, everything that happened in my life, your life is different. Everything that happened in my life had to happen in my life. And I have no regrets, not near one. Even the wrong shit I did. If I was involved in somebody being unalive, that death and whatever happened, that was if it wasn't meant to happen in the universe, it wouldn't have happened. I'm not saying that somebody had to die for me to learn a lesson. I'm not saying somebody had to die for me to have a testimony, or somebody had to die so I could be able to talk to the youth or any of things or, in that nature. You know what I'm saying? But Whoever was in the streets selling drugs and owning these blocks, knowing that these things could happen, that death was already upon them because they was in a lifestyle of death, if that makes any sense. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying, I pray and ask for forgiveness every day, but everybody that was involved in any of the homicides that I gave up and told, 99% of them were people who were in the streets disseminating death. They may have not been unaliving people with a pistol. They may not have been doing armed robberies. They may not have been physically kidnapping people. But when you're selling death in your community, you're selling those type of drugs in your community, you're disseminating death. That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. That's what we were doing. That's what we all were doing. That's what we all was signing up for. I just decided to sign out when the times got hard or the road got rough, whatever you want to call it. I made a decision that I didn't want to die in prison a big homie. I made a decision that I didn't want to die in prison a big homie. I made the decision that what I was taught to cast out spirits, to heal myself, to heal others was something that needed to be heard. I made a decision that this was something I needed to teach my children if they're ready for it. I made a decision that it was something I needed to teach the brothers who want change, who was just like me, still out there selling heroin, crack, dope, and coke, still toting that pistol, still doing robbery, still doing shit that they're somewhat programmed to do, but know they should be doing different, that want to do different. I know they needed this. And those are the ones that I'm on this computer for. This is the ones that I'm on TikTok for. These are the ones that I'm on YouTube for. And my family members and people that know me that want change, that used to look up to me and listen to me when I was doing all the wrong shit. Hopefully they'll still look up to me and listen to me now that I'm doing all the right shit. Cause it's lonely. When you become spiritual and you open up your third eye and you vibrating on the Christ consciousness, it becomes lonely. You know what I'm saying? You try to enjoy the basketball, you try to enjoy some of the music, you still try to enjoy some of the fashion and some of the things, but you're constantly aware and you're constantly checking yourself. Every time you spend $200 on a pair of sneakers, or $300 on a pair of shoes, or $1,500 on some glasses, or $60 on a hat. Every time you spend the money, you're consciously aware that you're doing something you really don't need. You're consciously aware that you're overcompensating for something because you're trying to look nice or smell nice every day, or you need a shape up every week, and a haircut every single week because your lineup ain't matching the way it's supposed to line up. Every time you feed pride and ego and those insecurities, when you become conscious, you catch yourself often. Believe me, I do. Believe me, I do. So it gets lonely. So you don't think for one second I want to have some of my like-minded brothers that came out of the streets and reformed and changed their lives, or my own daughters, or my brothers, or my sisters, or dudes that I used to run the street with that I had, general love for. You think I don't want to be able to sit at the table and talk about crystals and talk about healing waters and talking about prayers and meditations and recite scriptures and ancient, spiritual texts? Heck yeah. Heck yeah. And I'm so blessed, and I thank the Most High every day that I'm here to do it. Last place I wanted to be was stuck in there where people can't hear you or won't hear you. That's the last thing I wanted to do, and not to be able to be there for my children. So I chose them over the gang, something I never did. I chose them over the streets, something that I've never done. Every time I came home and grabbed that package, I chose the streets and money over my children. And I was like, fuck it. If I make it, then I get a house, couple cars, their college tuition is paid for, and all that other goofy shit that us street niggas who, love their family and their children, that we tell ourselves, but the universe never allows that. So I made a decision. I said, I couldn't give them that, but I gotta give them this. I gotta give them this. And to be in an opportunity to make sure I leave some homes and create some generational wealth. But fuck all of that. If I can't change, if they can't vibrate high spiritually, I don't give a damn what I leave them. They're just gonna fuck it up anyway. I don't care what I leave them or what I think I could leave them. If I can't leave them spirituality, if I can't leave them Christ, if I can't show them how, to believe in Christ as their Lord and Savior, and how to vibrate high, to heal themselves and vibrate on a certain frequency, I don't give a damn how much property or money you leave a child. They're just gonna mess it up anyway. They can't take them when they're going anyway. You could give them whatever you want to give them down here. Where they gonna go when they unalive? Where they gonna go? What are they gonna leave to your children, your grandchildren, your great grandchildren, and your great grandchildren? What are they gonna leave them? Some things? 20 years from now, 40 years, 30 years from, you might not even be able to own property. United States might turn into China. You might not even be able to own shit. You might be you might be forced to work and you get a designated car. Everybody might be in Ford Focuses. That might be only one car they got, and your house is gonna be subsidized housing. You're gonna work to keep a roof over your head and your rations of food, and you're gonna go to work. What if it's like that? So it don't matter what you leave if you're not leaving something spiritual or something of real substance. Because if you love them, you're gonna want them to vibrate high. You're gonna want them to make it into heaven. You're gonna want them to see Christ at the throne, if that's what you believe. You're gonna want them to get to paradise and get their 72 virgins and be at the feet of Allah to worship, if that's what you believe. That's what you want. That's your responsibility. That's your sole purpose. Not your only purpose, your sole purpose, meaning from your spirit, because they are from your spirit. Y'all from the same monah, y'all from the same soul. What are you gonna leave down here? A bunch of Jordans in the house and the cars and credit. What's your legacy gonna be? My legacy, oh, he was a gangster, he snitched, he was this, he was that. That's not my legacy. This is my legacy. Living in my truth, living in my truth. And giving this world something more than some tangible shit or some physical shit that's gonna stay here with your body. You're gonna leave what you leave here with your children, you're gonna leave right with your body in that casket, in that ground where it says, "Herein lies so and so, rise date, dead date," and you lie right there in that box. You're gonna leave that with that. That's it though. We're more than that, y'all. Much more. Everything happens for a reason. That's facts. You can't change nobody. They gotta wanna change themselves. Can't play the game forever, and it's not a game. And when people call it a game, I kinda like have a disdain for that word, "the game." You know why? Because it's not a game. A game is something where all parties is playing, right? The system is not playing. They're in the game with you, but they're not playing. They're not playing. This ain't no game. You know what I'm saying? In the game, somebody has to win. You either win or you lose in the game in order for it to be a game. Nobody wins. Nobody wins. If you're in the game, what they call the streets, if we call it the street game or the hustling game or whatever you want to call it, if it's because of the game, it's not a game because nobody wins. Nobody, even the brother who makes the Jay-Z, let's just say for instance, right? The guy who was a drug dealer, he took his money and he put his money into something else. He still don't win. If he don't find Christ, if he don't change his life, he still don't win. Because he may go to the ground and leave everything to Blue Ivy and all the rest of them, but he goes straight to hell, or he goes to another realm of reality, or he's reborn back again, and he don't even land in the family with the wealth where he left at. He land back into another poor family to try to do it all again, because they know if we reincarnate Jay-Z back into, if he becomes Blue Ivy's grandson or Blue Ivy's son, then we know that Jay-Z, the spirit of him, he was spiritual enough in this realm to where he might change, because now he got the time to sit, pray, and meditate in the change, because Blue Ivy got all the money. She might be a 20 billionaire when Jay-Z reincarnates. So now he reincarnates back to Blue Ivy. He might be like, you know what? He might do what Buddha did, right? What they say Buddha did. Buddha was born into a house of nobility, and he left his house of nobility and went to the forest and went, prayed and meditated and raised his vibrations and became an avatar. You understand what I'm saying? So they overstand that. So you think they're gonna reborn him back into his generational wealth? No, they're gonna send him back to another poor family. If Marcy Projects is still here, back into Marcy Projects, so he could go sell his soul to do it all again, chasing some physical shit that don't mean nothing. You understand what I'm saying? We're more than that, y'all. Way more. But I appreciate y'all. What would you do if you found out one of your daughters was in a gang? What would you in a gang? What would you have done? If I found out one of my daughters was in a gang, what would I have done? What I'm doing on here and praying and meditating for them. If they decided that's what they was gonna do, and I couldn't dissuade them or persuade them otherwise, there's nothing I could do but pray and meditate on it. And, I speak about my children a lot because, your children are some of the human beings that you have somewhat responsibility for. And I say somewhat because those souls, my children, what I call my children, those souls made a decision to enter this realm of reality on a subconscious soul level, and they're here for their own journey as well. So if they decided to go into the gangs or whatever, like, my middle child, she was fighting and beating people up. She caught some cases and stuff like that. Since I've been home in the last 3 years, she ain't caught no case. You know what I mean? She ain't been fighting. She ain't been wilding. You know what I'm saying? And I know that's due to me being home. Nobody don't got to give me credit. That's okay. That's my daughter. You know what I'm saying? So, um, if she continued to go down that path of fighting and doing the things she was doing, if my prayers didn't work, if my guidance didn't work, which it did, kind of, sort of, right? But if it didn't, then I have to step back and realize that, okay, like me, she may have been inherited this hard ass head, and she may have to bump her head. So I have to allow her to bump her head. There's nothing I can do. What else could I do? I can't stress about it. I refuse to, because one thing about when you ask for your third eye to be open, one thing when you have discernment and you really ask, and people who just read Bibles and just think that they sit in the church or they sit in the mosque and they read the Quran and they think they know something and they think they know it all. But once you really open up your consciousness, when you really become Christ-like, when you really become God-like, and what I mean by God, like when you become like the wind, when you become like the water, when you become like the tree, when you become like the things that are here to help humanity, right? These things that we have here, some of these laws and some of these things here we have to help humanity on this planet, it just is. It just is. Earth is going to continue to be an Earth. If I cease to exist tomorrow, Earth is going to continue to be Earth. Water is going to continue to be water. Air is going to continue to, it just is. You have to be like that. You have to be like that. Yeah, you're going to have a human attachment to other human beings. Yeah, it's going to hurt if your mother, sister, brother, daughter, or son, become something other than what they're supposed to be, or they're unalived or anything like that. Of course, human nature, you're going to have a human response to human things. But the more spiritual you become, the more you realize you're not in control over another human being and what they do, how they gauge you, how they feel about you, what the choices they make, what their life turns out to be. You may have a responsibility to try to lead them to the water, but you definitely can't force them to drink. And if they decide not to drink, you have to understand that that's just as good as them drinking it. Her not doing what I said to do is just as good as her doing what I say to do. And what I mean by that is, I mean just as good, because in her spirit or in her life path and in her journey, she may have to go through that to get to where I'm at today or where I'm heading, if that makes any sense. She may have to learn how I may have to learn. So her doing what I feel is wrong may be a good thing. She may have to do what's wrong in order to learn. That may be her journey. If it was in her to not do it, she wouldn't be doing it. If it was in her to be just like me, then she would be, I guess, just like who I am today. But if she's just like me, then she's gonna gangbang and bust her head. If she's just like me, I knew what not to do. I knew right from wrong. I had examples. You understand? Everybody I love was on drugs. You know what I'm saying? Well, except my grandmother. But everybody I love was on drugs. Everybody I love was running the streets. I still decided to run the streets and be on drugs. You know what I'm saying? So I had to learn that way. They may have to learn that way. You have to, this is some real shit, y'all. When you become spiritual, when you start vibrating high, man, you start to worry less about what you can control, man. For real, for real. For real. For real. Me going to prison, let's say for instance, I told, like I did, I still could have got a life sentence. I still could have got 20 years. I still could have, you know how many dudes I know that when I, yo, what happened to so-and-so? They gave him 40 years. What happened to so-and-so? People still get time. They don't have to let you go. They don't have to. And I'm one of them people that they did not want to let go. Because not only was I violent and not only was I admitting to my roles and people being unalive, not only was I admitting to those crimes, um, I'm black. Not only am I black, they hear my conversations. They know that there's more to me than what meets the eye. You understand what I'm saying? So they didn't have to let me go. If they wouldn't have let me go and they would still gave me 20 years or 30 years or 15 years, if I still would have been sitting in prison right now, then that would have been the most highest way. That would have been what it was. And then maybe it wasn't, I would have looked at it like, okay, I didn't tell to get out. I told to cleanse my soul. And now I'm in here constantly asking for repentance. So when I get out, I would be vibrating probably twice as high than I'm vibrating now because I would have been stuck in there with nothing to do but to pray, activate, meditate, and fast and do the things that I needed to do. You understand what I'm saying? But that's not what worked out in the cards for me. I was released. So I know that I was released for a purpose. Because I know I have a purpose, because I know I have a purpose, I know I was released to do what I'm doing now. Why else am I here? It ain't just to be a father or just to be a husband or just to be a good son or a good nephew it ain't, or brother. It ain't just for my family. I'm here for a bigger purpose than that, if that makes any sense. Nah, 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 nah. I'm not explaining myself. I'm just giving examples. Because somebody asked, what would I have done if my daughter was in a gang? And I'm just explaining, like, if that happened, you know, of course I'm gonna have a human response to it, but deep down inside, she may have to go through that. Everything happens for a reason. That's why I went down that rabbit hole. You understand what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I didn't just tell to get out. Did I want to get out of jail? Yeah. Did I believe they was gonna let me out of jail? Yeah. But I had to get a lot of that shit out of my spirit. For real. I was involved with a lot of shit that was on my spirit. It was on my conscience. It was on my mind. I haven't had one, not bad dream, but before I told, I used to have dreams, like a couple of reoccurring dreams that had to do with blood, that had to do with street shit. I don't have those dreams no more. Do I still have bad dreams every now and again? Yeah, every now and again. But I used to have bad dreams every night. And I had these reoccurring dreams. Once I came out of them prophet sessions and I let all of the murders out of my spirit, I felt lighter. I felt better. I had to release that stuff. I had to. If I didn't tell, let's say um I didn't get caught the way I got caught, and I was only gonna do like 3, 4 years, right? And I went and did my 3, 4 years or whatever the case may be, and got out. You know what I'm saying? Had I not confessed the murders and things that I was involved with, it still would have been heavy on my spirit. I still would be having those bad dreams. Every time I pray, I still would feel like I'm being phony because I know the roles that I played and some of the things that I did, if that makes any sense. Every time I ask for forgiveness and repentance for those things, I would feel like I'm not really giving repentance because I didn't give the families closure with the shit that I know what happened, with some of the people that I know who unalived who. And you know, I know the family don't know. I wouldn't have felt like I had closure. I would have felt like I was still, you know, doing the devil's work. I would have still felt like I was still bucks. I was still being bucks because I know they unalive this nigga. And I know the family don't know that. Or I know they know he unalived it, but they still didn't find justice. And I know I was dead. So every time I see his mother, I know who unalived her son or what happened. You know what I mean? The whys. When people be like, yeah, I know so and so did it, but why? And they don't get the why. You understand? I still would have had that. And we talking about a lot of deaths. So we talking about a lot of people. You know, the world is small. I'm always going to see these people. somehow, some way. So if it was still stuck on my spirit, it would still been stuck on my spirit. It still would have been in my conscience. And every time I'm praying and meditating, but in the root of me, I'm still feeling like I haven't changed or I didn't do nothing because I still didn't solve this murder. I still didn't give this family closure. I still didn't apologize to the family for my role because to apologize for my role, I would have to let them know what happened. If that don't make any sense, then I don't know what. And I'm not trying to prove nothing to nobody. I'm just trying to make you understand where I'm coming from spiritually. I had to do what I did. It wasn't just about getting out of jail. That's what everybody think. It's all about getting out of jail. It wasn't all about getting out of jail. Would I have decided to do it if I never got arrested? Who knows? I did a lot of shit after I had my spiritual awakening. You know what I did when I got out of my I had my spiritual awakening? But it was kind of asinine. You know what I did? Oh, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. You know what I did when I had my spiritual awakening, y'all? In 2012? In 2012, I had I had all the nice sneakers. Every time sneakers came out, I like to dress, right? So I had all of the new sneakers. I had a couple Pelés. So one day where I was living at, there was always a bunch of little kids in front of my building, right? So this is 2012. So in 2012, I was 33. So I was 33. So every time I came out of my building, there would be these little 13, 14-year-old kids. I don't even think they was that old. They probably was like 11, 10. Y'all know them bad New York City kids. I mean, a bunch of them, right? And every time they would see me, and every time they would see me, they would be like, "Oh, oh, oh," and they would wanna see what sneakers I had on. Now, these kids knew the name of all these sneakers. I used to buy them because I liked them. I didn't really know all the names, right? So they'd be like, "Oh, he got on the Galaxy 6s. Oh, he got on the Kilroys. He got on the this, the that. Oh, those are the so and so. Yo, man." Every time I couldn't avoid these little kids, man. They was a bunch of badass little kids that hung out in front of my building. And it was like every time they see me, they wanted to see what kind of sneakers I had on, right? And tell me the name of the sneakers that I had on. And after a while, it kind of, one, I knew they was poor. I knew they didn't have it, so I felt like funny, like you know what I'm saying, like, and I give them a little $20 here and there, give them a couple dollars and stuff like that. But it did two things. One, I felt like I was rubbing my success or rubbing I was wearing my success because I didn't have success. Let me rephrase that. I feel like I was wearing the appearance of success and I was manipulating these kids or making them feel a certain type of way by what I had on. And I know they knew I was in the streets because they would say shit like they knew I was selling drugs. And two, I seen how much it meant to them. And then I realized that it meant a lot to me too. But I was like, look at them, they're 11, 12 years old, but I'm 33. I'm like, I shouldn't still have this excitement or connection to this material bullshit. So here's what I did, y'all. I took all my stuff and I went to my aunt's house and I gave it all away. I gave it to my brothers. I gave it to some of the kids that lived in my aunt building. And my little homie, my little man, I was just talking to the other day, and he was like, "Yeah, bro, I thought you was dying." My other brother too. He's like, "Yo, what you got cancer or something? Like, are you sick? What's wrong with you? What's going? Like, why are you doing this?" And I just like, I felt like it didn't mean shit. Now I'm not acting like I went to prison and came home, and I kind of brought some of the same shit over again. You know what I'm saying? But I'm making a point here. In that moment, in those days leading up to me giving that stuff away, I felt like it wasn't important, and I felt like I was putting too much energy to something that wasn't really that important. You know what I'm saying? As far as the clothes, the material shit. So I gave it all away. So I say that to say, had I not got arrested and was facing the time that I had, and I had those things on my spirit, I know I probably would have walked into a precinct one day and be like, yo, look, this is what happened. Because it was on my conscience. I had a when I was doing the shit I didn't do, maybe because I didn't have my spiritual awakening, maybe because I had spiritual attachments. Like I told some of y'all on here, I did stuff to people that I couldn't even remember. I done did violence to people that I couldn't even remember. I seen people with whole cuts on their face. I didn't even remember cutting them. So I say that to say while I was doing the stuff that I was doing, maybe whatever it was that was attached to me that made me not remember or made me not compassionate or made me not care. Once I had my spiritual awakening in 2012, when those spirits was away from me, I had a conscience now. This is why I stopped, you know, um, engaging in robberies, engaging in shootings, engaging in harming people. I stopped. Yeah, I was still selling drugs, so I still was harming people. But in my twisted mind and my stinking thinking, I thought just because I wasn't doing physical harm, that I wasn't doing harm. But nah, maybe I gained the conscience. It was eating at me. Every time I prayed, every time I did these high vibrational activations, and I'm calling in these spirits and I'm calling down angels and I'm trying to speak directly to God. Every time I did that, my conscience made me feel guilty about the crimes that I was involved in and some of the things that I had involved myself with. And something was telling me that I had to rectify that before I ever even told. I just didn't know how, because even on I had a spiritual awakening, I couldn't see myself just walking in and admitting a crime or admitting that I did something. But it was definitely hard on my spirit. I'm telling y'all that. So when I went into those prophet sessions, I came out feeling lighter. I came out feeling good, and I do not have, I had like these two reoccurring dreams, and I haven't had neither one of them since. So I know I did the right thing. You understand what I'm saying? So it was bigger than just getting out of prison. And a lot of times when people cooperate with the government, with the feds, or anytime people tell, it don't gotta be the government or the feds. It don't gotta be a big deal. It don't gotta be facing life. It don't gotta be all the murders. It don't have to be nearly as extravaganza, which is some stupid street shit. It don't have to be some super street shit in order for people to say this, but whenever somebody tells, people always say it's to get out of jail. Sometimes people just want to free their spirit too. You know what I mean? Yeah, it got me out of my situation. Yeah, it's the cause of me doing what I do, but I really had to free my spirit. A lot of that shit was heavy on me. For real, for real. For real, for real. Just like me coming out about my molestation, it was heavy on me. Just about me coming out about a lot of things that occurred in my life on here and to other people, and apologize to people for on here, because I done did some foul shit that people didn't know, and you're like, I apologize. Like, I know you thought I robbed your house. I did. That was me, or I apologize. A lot of those things, you have to release a lot of that stuff in order to really forgive yourself. You have to. If there's something, if you have a conscience, and something inside of you feels wrong about a wrong you committed to another person, you have to confess that sin to that person, ask that person for forgiveness, and whether they forgive you or not, at least you did your due diligence to get forgiveness. And the Most High and the administrators of karma, they see it, they know where your heart was at, they know what you was trying to do, and you will be, I'm not gonna say rewarded as you're gonna get a gift or nothing like that, but on the spiritual realm, you will be vindicated. They, as long as they know where your heart is at. The person you're asking for forgiveness and the administrators of karma, the Most High, they know where your heart's at. Life feels lighter when you choose to spread joy. That's a fact. That's a fact. It is lighter when you do, because it's like a workout. When you come from a workout, you feel lighter, you feel good. It's the breath. You breathing in. Breath is spirit. So the more you breathing in, breathing out, that's why it feels good after a workout. The more you do some discipline, like say you go on a fast, you feel lighter, you feel good because you did some discipline. The day when you want to eat fried chicken, you was like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna have these steamed vegetables. You feel lighter. The vegetables may not taste as good, as the fried chicken, but after you eat the vegetables, there's a feeling you get. And that feeling is a lighter feeling. That feeling is a highly vibrational feeling because you chose discipline. And discipline is one of the main things to gain spiritual wealth. You know what I mean? You have a spiritual bank account. And as you're putting money into your spiritual bank account, one of the biggest deposits you can put in, it all comes from discipline. Discipline to pray, discipline to fast, discipline to meditate, discipline not to curse somebody out, discipline to apologize when you were wrong. Discipline is at the core root of if you're learning how to build up your spiritual wealth. Discipline is one of the biggest things you can do, is one of your biggest tools. It's okay to be hurting too. Your wounds are often only open into the guarded, yet best and most beautiful parts of us. Yeah, yep. I appreciate you, beloved. Yep, yep. In order to be powerful, you have to be vulnerable. In order to be strong, you have to be weak. If that makes any sense. When you read a lot of the Tao, I used to read a lot of Tao books. It's an Asian tradition. It's an Asian belief system. But in the Tao, it says to be like water or be like the wind. In order to be strong, you have to be weak. Meaning, if you consider weak, allowing somebody to slap you and you turn the other cheek, if that's considered weak, like I consider that to be weak. Or you soft, or you let people disrespect you, you let people walk all over you, you too soft. Well, to be soft is to be powerful, because when that person is weak in that way, that means they're powerful if they're able to allow somebody to not harm them or nothing like that, but they become like water. You can't swing against water. You can't trap the wind. You can't punch the wind. You can't punch water. You can't trap it. It is what it is. It's formless, right? So when you become formless like that, somebody punching at you is like punching at the wind. We don't apologize to be forgiven. We apologize to repent. That's right. Forgiveness is a gift. It can only be given by the other person. Right. And they don't have to forgive you. So when you apologize, you're letting them know, like, look, I was wrong. You was right. When you apologize, like I did, I admitted to something that somebody knew I did, but it was one of those, if you admit that you did it, then I'm never gonna be your friend, or I'm never gonna, look at you the same. And there's like, I don't even, the person told me if you did it or not, I don't even want to know if you did it or not. You know what I'm saying? And I told that person, yo, I did it and I apologize. You know what I'm saying? And when a person asks me, I can only respond to things how I always respond to things. And I always respond to things as the person that I am right now. All right, I appreciate you, beloved. Thank you for your time. Appreciate you. And I responded the way I always responded to things. And you know what I said? At that time, when I did that to you, the person that I was, I could find an excuse to do anything to anybody at any given moment, because that's the type of person that I was. I was the type of person, I just wouldn't just do stuff to you. I would wait for a reason. And the minute I could justify the foul shit that I was gonna do to you, as long as I could justify it, I never did something that I couldn't justify in my own mind. And I had stinking thinking back then. So I could justify the most harsh thing by the littlest of shit, if that makes any sense. Somebody could have did the littlest thing, but because I could find justification in it, it didn't even matter. And that's who I was. And that's how I apologized. Man, I can't believe you did that. And I was like, well, at that time, I was able to do that because XYZ. I'm not making excuses. I'm just trying to show you why he did what he did. Me today, I would have never did that today. A lot of the shit that I did, I would have never did. I'm talking about the shit that I can remember doing. You know what I'm saying? I would have never did. And it doesn't, and the person didn't have to be close to me. I'm talking about to people that I didn't really even know. You know what I'm saying? There was people that I knew they was about to get killed, and I just went and warmed the car up. You know what I'm saying? For real. There was a person a couple of times where I knew somebody was about to be unalived, and the only thing I did was warm the car up. You know what I'm saying? I didn't even talk the person or try to talk the person out of it. I didn't intercede. I didn't take the gun from where I knew they was gonna go grab the gun. You know what I'm saying? A lot of that shit. That's horrible shit. For real. And it's not because I wasn't compassionate, it's because the spirits that was attached to me didn't allow me to have compassion in that moment, didn't allow me to see. It allowed things to play out that I should have never allowed to play out. You understand what I'm saying? I was under a spell, just like the person who was committing the actual crime. We was all under spells. We was all twisted. We was all feeding some shit that we didn't realize we was feeding. You know what I'm saying? For real. But I thank y'all. I love y'all. I'm trying to I'm in the process of getting this computer together and figuring it out. And I told y'all what I'm gonna do when I get it situated. Yeah, feeding gems, feeding gens, feeding entities and energies outside of ourselves. For real, real shit. But I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all. I'll probably be on here tomorrow, maybe the day after. Uh, I'm give it a couple more weeks, and I'm gonna have it so y'all could call in with us. Um, Call in and we could share on this computer. I could put things up. I'm gonna make the live way more interactive than me just sitting here talking all day. You know what I'm saying? And trying to read the comments all the time with my half illiterate behind. You know what I'm saying? So as I learn this computer and put it together, the live is gonna be completely different. It's gonna be way more interactive. I promise y'all. I thank you. I appreciate you, Carla. I thank you, spirituality, neuroscience. I ain't seen you here in a while, beloved. I appreciate you. I like when you on here. You make me think. I appreciate it. I don't really think so, but I like what I'm saying. So maybe that's what helps me because I like what I'm saying. I love what I'm saying. It's coming from my spirit, so it makes me a better speaker than I am in real life. But I don't think I'm the best speaker though, but it's because I love what I'm speaking about. So I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. I thank y'all, and I promise. All right, yeah, leave some comments in my chat because it'll be 30,000 people in the chat sometimes. Say, I mean, it'll say it was 30,000 people watching, but then when it becomes a video, it'd be like it don't be no comments. I don't know why it does that. I haven't figured it out yet. I swear I really haven't figured it out yet. But I thank y'all. You have a good evening too. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all day. I appreciate you, Jerry. I appreciate you, beloved. And I should be on here tomorrow's Monday. Probably not tomorrow, but Tuesday. I'll be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'll be back up on here. I appreciate y'all.